I'm trying to see. Bitch, fight for something I believe's worth it. For the curse, I'ma reverse it. I don't dream cause I sleep nervous. Yet I keep flirting. Face death like a Steve Irwin. Cold heat, I'ma drink thermos. Tell the bartender keep serving. I'm trying to be perfect. Using dirty shit to clean dirt with. Only happy when the weed burning. Traded oxygen to breathe herping. Smoke till I see curtains. Lungs fail and they cease working. Air is something that I need urgent. Suffocating, trying to squeeze words in. What I do with my last breath, what I yell, what I cry, what I laugh, cause I'm glad that I'm past that mess. Till I pass, never felt that blessed. Even bad breath when you living is better than good breath. When you lack flesh, got a glass chest that I cracked and my lost breath hasn't made it back yet. I'm on my last breath, walking the last step, I'm on the last test. Final answer in my last guess. Wonder what I gotta pass next. I'm on my last quest. So much harder than my last track. Mad bless. Hope I can outlast death. Grim Reaper got my address. Down to my last cent. Cash back from a check I don't even have yet from my last rent. Swear this shit has got me mad stressed. I inherited my dad's debt. Never got to hear his last breath. And the only reason I ain't passed yet, I'm the first ever and the last left.
I let the record show. I let the tech explode. Put on the weapon show. Pull up the Texaco. Knock up to Mexico. Call up the technical. Vegetable, body electrical. Acid and alkaline. Body so flexible. The shooters feast like a Uber Eats. Got a group of these suited these scooter bees. While letting the Uzi Aruga speak. An American God up in Cuba eats. The powers they seek and powers the weak. They follow and creeps. Powers that be inherit the world from cowards and sheep. Bit to the mountains, top towers and peaks. Flowers and sweets and showered our feet. The lightning and thunder that shower the sleep. Shower the D's. This not a verse, this our receipts.
What would I do with my last breath? Would I yell? Would I cry? Would I laugh? Cause I'm glad that I'm past that mess. Till I pass, never felt that blessed. Even bad breath when you living is better than good breath. When you lack flesh, got a glass chest that I cracked and my lost breath hasn't made it back yet. I'm on my last breath, walking the last step. I'm on the last test. Final answer and my last guess. Wonder what I gotta pass next. I'm on my last quest. So much harder than my last track. Mad bless. Hope I can outlast death. Grim Reaper got my address. Down to my last cent. Cash spent from a check I don't even have yet from my last rent. Swear this shit has got me mad stressed. I inherited my dad's debt. Never got to hear his last breath. And the only reason I ain't passed yet, I'm the first ever and the last left.
It's like a track finish. I attract women, they the bad women. I'ma splash in them, leave a bag with them. Then I raise seeds to be mad different. If I die now, I'm coming back in them. Cause they dad missing, but they cash dripping. Cause they royalty, so they brag different. Ain't no ass kissing, never had feelings. Seen a white victim in a black witness. Mac gripping on my last mission. Yak sipping, blowing blackism. Gat missing, he was lack slipping. Smack hit him, now we act different. Apparition, the bad vision. The Mac, a chip him and crash the system. Uncle Tom, cause you that willing. Fuck the law, I'm going back to living. Astral prisms, the black religions. Activisms, the conversations. Sacrilegious, the palms of Satan. Black magicians, Babylon erasing. Raise our hands to the God we praising. Hustling, the marathon we racing. Nipsey at the finish line, he waiting.
What would I do with my last breath? Would I yell? Would I cry? Would I laugh? Cause I'm glad that I'm past that mess. Till I pass, never felt that blessed. Even bad breath when you living is better than good breath. When you lack flesh, got a glass chest that I cracked and my lost breath hasn't made it back yet. I'm on my last breath, walking the last step. I'm on the last test. Final answer and my last guess. Wonder what I gotta pass next. I'm on my last quest. So much harder than my last track. Mad bless. Hope I can outlast death. Grim Reaper got my address. Down to my last cent. Cash spent from a check I don't even have yet from my last rent. Swear this shit has got me mad stressed. I inherited my dad's debt. Never got to hear his last breath. And the only reason I ain't passed yet, I'm the first ever and the last left.
Boom! There you have it. There you have it. Last Breath off of that Black Magic album. All right. Featuring yours truly, the Red Pillar, and yours truly, the Blue Pillar, right? Pulling up, doing what we do. Like I said, I feel that's the song of the year.
Yeah, shout out to somebody. Don't leave them out. And shout out to Brother Rich for the production on that.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, stunt, my brother, stunt. That's right. Do what you do. Stunt. Pop that collar. Yeah, yeah. Come up.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, indeed. Indeed.
Look.
Peace, love, and light, family. Welcome back to another episode of KTL. You are now rocking with the best. This is your host, Brother Blue, joined by my co-host, Brother Red.
Yes.
You
Soon to
take
be
them headphones
joined.
off. I'm getting a lot of There's a lot of feedback every time that you move with them headphones.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, if you don't need
Hold
them,
it. No, I do need them.
all right. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, we're soon to be joined by two legends.
Indeed.
Yeah, we're soon to be joined by some of our alumni. This is KTL Radio 2020 tonight. So in this series, what we do is we celebrate our guests who have been riding with us and working with the platform for about a decade now. And our brother Amir, Amir, pardon me, and my good brother Mansa the Moore, they've been putting in a lot of work over the years. And we are all here. You know, they say the power is in the now. That it's not how you start the race, it's how you finish it. You know, they say that the only thing that really exists is the now, because tomorrow and yesterday is but a memory. And we find ourselves today in the now, in the right now, in a very precarious place. We find ourselves today in the right now in what me and Blue Pill would like to call the Jubilee celebration. We find ourselves today in the right now in what we also was calling the Corona Rising. So, in lieu of these facts, you know, I'm very excited about what the now brings. So I want to get right into it. I want to do a roll call, but let's do the roll call at the end of our demonstration so we could see how the nodes have connected and the web has connected and how far this information has traveled in the now, in the right now. So without any further ado, I want to definitely open up the line and bring in our guest for tonight, my good brother
Yes.
Shyam, and my good brother El Amir. All right. So without any further ado, I'm gonna open up the stream to these two brothers right now. All right. Peace to the God.
Peace, family. Shalom. What's going on
Peace.
with y'all?
Yes, indeed. Islam, peace, peace and love and light, and welcome back to the platform. Indeed.
Indeed,
Indeed.
indeed. You know, this tonight we're gonna go in detail. You know what I mean? So we had to bring it back. So I appreciate you, brothers, of course, and you know,
Yeah, peace to
it's always a pleasure to build with the brothers and all of that. So
the
it's gonna be interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I
Peace
wanna.
yeah, man. It's been a minute.
That's right.
Yeah.
El Amir, it's been a minute, my good brother. How you been?
Peace, peace. What's going on, guys? Look, man,
Indeed.
alhamdulillah, man. It's all
Indeed.
good.
Yeah.
I ain't seen y'all in a minute either, man.
That's
So
right.
great to catch
Well, to
back
keep
up with y'all.
That's right. And to keep it in the tradition of the cycle, we hope that this platform feels like 2010. So, like you said, y'all want to do the demonstration, and we wanted to feel like the old time days. That's why these KTL 2020 shows celebrate longevity, continuity, right? Um, because a lot of our students are very new to this information. They're new to these platforms. They're new to the names that are out here. They probably just heard of you today. So we want to impress upon the psyche of the students that are out there who are just waking up or just realizing that this thing is a little bit deeper than an emotional connection to, feelings. What you say? Oh, I thought I heard something. So the family that's out here, what they're looking for these days, because me and Blue are traveling around, we're going to a lot of places. We came from the UK in October. That was a very eye-opening trip to the United Kingdoms, right? And a lot of people want to get down to this conversation about separation, right? The case for separation has never been stronger amongst what we used to deem 85ers, all the way up to what we call the 5%ers, and even the 1%ers, and even the 10%ers, which would be the celebrities and the woke people and whatnot. They're advocating, right, for a plan, or they're advocating for a demonstration that they can all agree with, similar to when they saw the brothers march on Stone Mountain. That wasn't celebrity endorsed. That had nothing to, they had no hand in that. But when they saw it, they advocated and was like, yo, you know, that's what's up. And a few of them shared it and whatnot. But for the most part, they were advocating and saying that we can't do these things, but when we see it, if it resonates with us, we don't have any choice but to get behind it. So I just want to, first and foremost, I want y'all to introduce, you know, yourselves to somebody who may have never heard of you before, and then I want to begin to get into this case about you know, the case for reparations from a Moorish perspective.
Indeed, indeed, definitely. For starters, you know, my official name is Mansa Isa Muhammad, but many people may know me as Shyaam the Liberator. It's all good, you know what I mean? Whichever one is comfortable, people want to acknowledge me as, it's all good. Um, you probably notice, you probably have seen me and the brother El Amir in the infamous Moors and Courts video, you know, that's been viral for so many years. There's a lot of rumors that we were, you know, that we were dead, or that we was in federal prison doing life. A lot of rumors, but nah, that stuff. We've been here the whole time working, you know, putting in work on
Yeah.
a ground level and things like that. So you know, we consider it. I grew up, man. You know, I
Hmm.
grew up, and y'all
I
watch. You
grew up
know,
there.
y'all know me from back in the day. But today, I'm just gonna keep it hood with y'all, man. I'm gonna just keep it 100. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
And the fact is that we have done things in a manner that has been for all of our people behind the scenes. You know what I mean? A lot of stuff, you know, back and forth with the court, a lot of stuff with, you know, helping brothers, forming things, just a lot of things that we're going to get into tonight. But I just
Indeed.
wanted to put that introduction there because we know y'all brothers from way back. You know what I mean? The Harlem days, the 125th at the National Black Theater before it was even a thing out there. We was already there. You know what I mean? Everybody who was, you know, I could, you know, back in those days, you couldn't just pop up with a channel and be somebody. You had to actually be a part of the community. You actually had to put in work. People had to vouch for you. It's a little different now, but you know,
A lot
it's
different
all
now.
good. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a lot different. Um, some things remain the same, and many things have changed. You know, it's in my understanding that we're ultimately trying to get back to whence we came from. We're trying to get back to 2010. A lot of us are trying to get back to '09 because we want to we want to plug back in to that energy that was at a certain kind of frequency. And I feel that all of us are in school. We're all in college together. We're all in this university. A lot of us have matured. We've you know, we've experienced what is known as the road to perdition, life, all of its ups and downs. I've seen men grow before me. I've seen people tap out of the race. I've seen people, you know, stop running. And then I've seen people pick up in their pace and whatnot. And it's been a wonderful experience. I wish that somebody will be able to catalog this because this is the greatest story never told. How a consortium of brothers and sisters who didn't really know each other, but once we linked up, and I'm speaking about, this is about 50 unique brothers and sisters. This is not a large number. And now look at the community, look at the world for that matter. You know, the Moors in court, if we live in a disruptor age, the Moors in court video represents the disruptor that shook the pillars of the matrix because of the social media aspect of viral, right? Viral video. Remember, we used to laugh about viral video.
Yeah.
So when that went viral, that began to quote unquote, that was the glitch in the matrix, right? Because it did what it did for me in 2001, September the 10th. I went to a demonstration with Blue Pill in New Jersey, right? I just came home on supervised parole. I was in a boot camp, so I was already programmed. I'm cutting corners, I'm squaring corners and everything. And he did a demonstration with the Moors from Brooklyn. What give him the what was the name, Blue? I don't want to say the wrong temple.
I did the demonstration. They was just there.
Okay, they were holding you down. And this was something that I wasn't prepared for, you know? And when I saw it happen, and the end result was that they took my brother out of handcuffs and released him. And the judge was a colored person because he turned colors in front of me, right? He was uh, he was pale when we got there. And by the time we left, he was probably the color of the throw right behind me. And Blue shut him down with standing on the things that he was saying. I was like, Astaghfirullah. You know what I'm talking about? Like I ain't gonna lie, I thought I was gonna get violated. I thought they were gonna violate my parole. And my eyes opened up that day, and then the next day, of course, is 9/11, and nothing will be the same after that. I feel like that was a bookmark of an epoch. I think that a new epoch began in 2001, and many of us who are here right now, red pill in the world, we had a red pill moment in 01, 9/11, right? And some of our master teachers was awake prior to that, like, you know, and because of the master teachers who came and saved us, like Phil Valentine, like Bobby Hemmett, like Hakeem Bey, Taj was there. They were there with the information when people were drowning. Katrina, black people were drowning, and they came with the life raft. That's why a lot of brothers have this. They have this bond with Farrakhan, right? They have this bond with Farrakhan, this built off of, you know, him just being there at the right time. He has good timing, especially for brothers and sisters that are living a certain kind of lifestyle where we were flirting with death. We were outside of the parameters of what they call the establishment. We always needed somebody to be our bullhorn, right? Similar to what the conscious people are for the woke people right now. I don't want to get too much off balance, but I just want to share this. That people like the Nick Cannons of the world, they've been inside of an industry where they are somewhat limited as to how much they can say and how much that they can do. They couldn't do a Moors in court demonstration if they wanted to, right? There's a limit to what it is that they can do. We all know this, right? We know what contractual agreements hold you to because we deal with legalese and, you know, we know the power of the pen. So contractually, they're obligated to do a certain thing, and they have it within people's contracts where you could be terminated. Henceforth, what we just saw take place where they had a 13-year relationship with this man, and based off of the fact that, not that he didn't apologize, because he said that they didn't want to hear the apology. Mm-hmm. They just said, hold on, he's going way outside of the line. He has too much power. He must be stripped. They saw, remember, everybody that was at the Criterion, that speech right there got them way in their feelings. So he was there. Then the grift thing came out, so they said, "Nah, something got to go." What I'm saying though is, these individuals look for, because there's woke and then there's conscious, two different things. Like there was Karenga and there was Panther, right? Two different things. So civil rights is woke, and the brothers that you don't see on camera and you don't hear about that got streets named after them, that was a different energy that they were moving with. So they look for the mouthpieces that are the conscious teachers to breathe the fire. They are the conscious teachers are the shooters. They're the ones who go and do the dirty work. They could get up there. Professor Griff doesn't have any obligations to any corporations. No one is policing his mouth. He is a loose cannon. He's a shooter. So the fact that he gets up there, because a lot of these people have witnessed abuse, they've witnessed they could not do certain things. It's like being in the house. You hear the screams, you hear the cries coming from rooms. You know what's going on. You know where the bodies is buried. You can't do anything. Here comes somebody off the field. They don't have no ties to the house. They're rambunctious. They might even burn the house down if you tell them where the gasoline is at. So that's why you see these woke people getting behind quote unquote conscious people to champion their it's like they're getting revenge for them. You know, they're helping to push. That's what the Breakfast Club was. Bring these people on so they could shake the pillars of these people who've been abusing us and stepping on us.
Right, right. I wanted to say, I want to add something to that too. You know, just, and I'm gonna bring it to where you just took it to, but just backing up a little bit. You know, first it was the conscious community, and then it was the woke community. You see, and to keep it real with you, it's like I sat back and watched as what I could consider our generation. You know, like you said, we're alumni. Our class. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It gives so much to the game. Like there wouldn't be a movement of mass awakening if it wasn't for these, like you said, this bubble of 50 or so people who were very instrumental in spreading this information on all levels. So when it comes to health, when it comes to
they seeded it.
Yeah, I mean, we were all a part of it, you
That's
know,
right.
and we were the ones who was supposed to carry on from, and we have, and you guys have done a great job too, to carry on from the Phil Valentines and the Bobby Hemmets and the Taj Tariq Bays and different things like that, you know, and it came a point where at some point it just seemed like everything lost its soul, but that's neither here nor there. We're here in the now, and the interesting thing about Nick is, you know, shout out to Nick, but you know, you need to get at us, Nick, because we have some mutual friends or mutual individuals who know each other who got our books to him. So he has some Murakush books where in which it goes into great detail. The type of books he have, the ones he got of ours, go into great details on many different things relative to you know, all of the different things pertaining to Moors and all these different type of aspects. Right. But the thing about it is, you know, at the end of the day, man, our people need to say, you know, we just need to keep it all the way 100. You know, if you in Hollywood, you know, if you in the game, so to speak, it's time to pull out. You know, it's time to break away. It is time to separate, because part of the reason, like this, a lot of times us in Murakush, me and Ilamir, we get criticized for not playing the game to win over the popularity.
Yes.
But see, here's the thing. When you water down what you're doing, when you compromise, right? When you decide that I'm going to go along to get along, that's when you sell your soul. Of course, you can't say the things you can't. We wanted to be free so we could say what we want to say. And if we're going to come up, we're going to come up from the bottom of the muscle. It's not going to be because we took a bag from somebody. Because when you take a bag from somebody, you obligated now. You obligated to play the game the way they want you to play the game. You see? And so this is why a lot of these dudes can't talk. And then when they do want to say something, you know, don't get me wrong, Professor Griff's a shooter. He definitely is a shooter. But us in Murakush, we marksmen. We're snipers. You see? And the fact is that we know how to snipe. We know how to be very accurate, to nip a lot of different things in the bud. We've been here the whole time waiting for our people to say we're ready to separate, because you can't be ready to separate and not know how to do it. Because this is the problem our people have been having. They keep listening to people who don't have a track record, who don't have stripes, who can't be vouched for, who hasn't put in work. You understand? When you don't have that, you leave yourself vulnerable to following and listening to people who are just going to throw darts or give you pieces because they're just trying to be a personality.
Right.
You know, we've put over 30 books out, some of it pertaining to history, others pertaining to law, tangible things. See, like another thing, and this is just real sharp, right here, just something short, sweet, and simple.
Mm-hmm.
When we all sat there and we watched these people kill George Floyd and kill so many of our other brothers and sisters.
Yes.
Right? And what do? We go march. We have enough energy to take off of our jobs, and now because the corona thing hit, nobody got no job. So everybody got the energy to go out.
Mm-hmm.
But we all witnessed the crime. We all witnessed the crime.
Facts.
And what we could have did and what we should have did and what each and every single person should have done was they should have filed criminal complaints directly with the court. See, these are tangible things that could have been done.
That's right.
You see, tangible things. You see, but because our people lack an understanding of action and what it takes to get things done, and we just like to do things that make us feel good, to make us feel like we're doing something. But we all could have filed criminal complaints because we were all witnesses to a crime, you know, and that's just life. You see, but unless what we see today is the criminal justice system, the judicial system, the law enforcement apparatus is corrupt to its core, and it could never be corrected because it wasn't formed for the purpose of giving us justice. It was formed originally as a slave catching system and a human trafficking scheme to keep us enslaved to them.
That's a fact.
So when people talk about these light things of, oh, let's defund the police. If you're going to defund the police, are you ready to police yourselves? Do you know how to police yourselves? Do you know what laws are? See, we got this thing in our mind where that's the white man law. The white man there's no such thing. Everything that they learned, everything that they're doing, everything that proceeds from them is predicated on what came before them. And that's where the Moorish identity comes into play. You know, I seen somebody leave a comment on your post before we was when you posted the link to this flyer to this video.
Yeah.
And they said, I don't want to hear Moors talk about reparations or anything because they participated in slavery. See, let me tell you something. And one thing about that era that we were a part of, you know, it was a very special time, man, because it felt like it was going to happen. It felt like everybody who was in that circle, it was about to go down. You know what I'm saying? Everybody was ready at some level, some more than others, but we was all at that place like we building our own thing. You see?
Yeah.
And so what happened is outside of that bubble, it became corny because the celebrities, the 85ers, they had nothing to turn to. There was nowhere to go from their current system of TV shows and entertainment. They were yearning for more, but they didn't have the juice. We had the juice.
Yep.
You see? So what ended up happening is, you had some people in that circle go out, water things down because they were chasing that bag. But what's happening now to everybody that's chasing that bag? The white man kicking them off their pedestal. You ain't getting no more bags unless you do exactly what we want you to do. You see? But that's neither here nor there.
No, it is here. Remember the Matrix. Remember the scene with Cypher.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right? So for a piece of steak, the proverbial steak, right?
Talk to him.
For the proverbial piece of steak, you allowed who? Agent Smith. And
right.
when Agent Smith got into the Matrix, what did he begin to do? He began to infiltrate Zion.
That's
and
right.
Then what happened? Then the Sentinels started coming.
That's right.
Right?
Talk to him.
So that's what's been taking place. The Sentinels are the Sentinels are here. Cypher has allowed Agent Smith in. So now I remember there was a day and time where we did a video on 125th Street, and it was almost a spoof where we were saying that they were teachers who were homosexuals, right? It was like it was a debate, and anybody walked away in the agreement that they would sit in front of someone who was of sexual deviancy, right? So
Right.
we don't say anything to offend anybody, but we were saying that if someone has a sexual deviance, that's similar to if someone was standing in front of us and we found out that they was a pedo, or if we find out that they were into young boys or something, or if one of our master teachers who was propagating as an alpha and propagating as someone who was scientific was what the gods would deem non-scientific, because sun, moon, and stars, you can't play with the weird science. That's not what the gods ever did. The gods would beat you up if your number was off for the day. So they were writing exact with everything, and there was no room for error. That's why it was mathematics. So one plus
Absolutely.
one equals two. That's how they was moving, and that was our parameters. People talk about our rites of passage. We knew how to walk a straight line because we had the gods in the earths in the streets. They were not keyboard. They were not karate keyboarding it. They were out there. They were out there. They were hunter gatherers, and they were checking the flock.
Right. Right. There were people, there were systems in place of checks and balances when in that era. And that's the point I'm getting to.
Yeah.
And what also the point I'm getting to is there was a diversity of thought that came with a collective respect for that diversity of thought.
Yeah.
So it always perplexes me because we understood it as different chambers or different levels or different schools. Okay. And every portion has its relevancy. But see, when you come to the Moorish school of thought and you come to the Moorish chamber of things, you have to understand that it's a different chamber. It's a chamber, it's a school, but it's different because now you're in the realm of action. Now you're in the realm of actually doing stuff. And our people got this thing in their mind where they have a cognitive dissonance. Okay. So they'll say that the Moors is the ones responsible for slavery or this or that. Okay, so who's responsible today for the betrayal of our people? The sellout leaders, the people that's leading us astray. All of these weirdo side movements that's trying to convince our people that they should support it. So the spirit of corruption, the spirit of wickedness is always prevalent amongst us. But the checks and balances is to understand specifically that you can't separate yourself from ancestors. We're not supposed to choose who ancestors we like and which ones we don't like because we those same people. We're supposed to learn from the mistakes. So what about because when they say Moor, they're talking specifically about the Islamic Moors who went into Europe, not realizing that Moor was the international identity. And see, so you have a lot of people say, oh, I'm not a Moor. These people separate. No. If you go overseas, you're not going to say I'm a Brooklynite. I'm a New Yorker. You're going to say I'm a U.S. citizen or I'm an American because that's the international identity. Okay. So when we was doing business on the world stage, that's what we were understood to be. That's what we were known as. Okay. And the reality is that that's the only identity of ours that made it into the law books of history. Very significant because that allows us to see specifically that we have a legal argument and a legal right and a legal claim and a lawful right and a lawful claim for reparations. See, if you want reparations without sovereignty, it's just a welfare program. That's all it is. And they can keep giving those out left and right. They don't care. Because, see, just like Asheville, North Carolina today, they passed the city council agreed that they're going to
program.
Right. But it's not going to be direct payments, number one. And number two, they're talking about investing in African American
program.
Black programs. How many times have we heard that? See, we're old enough to know, and our elders are even older than us and old enough to know that they keep coming out with the same 52 shovel Kansas City fake out every few years or so.
Yeah. Let me
Every time the Negroes get restless,
restless. Fact.
they come out with a new little program to throw you back off track. And they keep putting the listen,
Here
we
it
can
goes.
see right. You can clearly see, our people come in different shades and different complexions. Me and Ilamir, we on the dark side of the complexion. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is that the reason I bring that up is because hey, when we talk about blackness, you don't get blacker than Kush when it comes, and we rep Kush hard. You see, that's why it's in the name, Murakush. You understand?
Fact.
So the point is, it has nothing to do with hating our skin complexion or hating the darkness. But our people have to understand the proper placement and understanding of this term black. And they have to stop playing this game. Because when you look up the dictionary terms in the 1800s of the name more, it's going to tell you any dark-skinned person, black man, Negro, blackie. Those are the literal definitions of it. That's what it's going to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you not be a Moor? It applies to any dark-skinned person as far as they're concerned. And then when you find it in treaties, then you start understanding the legal nature of it. And then you start understanding why they came up with Negro and black to replace it so that they can label us as products. Like I keep telling people about this law in South Carolina, right? It's called the Negro Law of South Carolina. And it says specifically in it that the term Negro shall be confined. The term Negro shall be confined to slave Africans, ancient Berbers, and their descendants. And then you start hearing people talk about, oh, well, the Moors and the Arabs. Listen, we just did a 2-hour show, an hour and a half show with Dana Marniche. She did the opening letter to Ivan Van Sertima's Golden Age of the Moors. She's a scholar, anthropologist, linguist, and she got a new book coming out. And she traces all of the tribes that's in West Africa, all of those tribes, even the Ashanti tribe, to Arabia. We even had our great scholar. She's a great scholar. We had another great scholar like Tariq Berry, and even another scholar, Wesley Muhammad, had went into details on some of these different things. You see, so we don't have no more excuses to be bringing up all of these trivial matters. I just seen a picture today where somebody showed me that Constantine, and I had to verify it. But Constantine was a brother, the infamous Constantine. So I don't care whether you're talking about Judaism. I don't care if you're talking about Islam. I don't care if you're talking about Christianity. I don't care if you're talking about Kemetic, this, that. Our people started it all. And it's not our job to say, I don't like this ancestor and I like that ancestor. It's our job to learn from the mistakes, learn what works, learn what we can apply, learn how to get out of this situation on the wisdom of all those years that transpired, that got us to this situation. So we don't got no time for that type of foolish talk when people want to say blame certain ancestors for this and certain ancestors for that. Because science, one thing in science, it says if you want to prove that something happened, you have to prove it's happening today. And we got plenty of black sellouts today. We have plenty of pagan tribes, people who wasn't Muslim or who wasn't Christian, who was selling our people relentlessly, human trafficking and doing things like that. So we have a lot of sin to atone for that we did to each other. But this ain't the time to to pick and choose. We have to use the proper tools that's going to get us the liberation. You understand what I'm saying? So at that point, I'll digress. And, I just wanted to make that point that this isn't the time to play that type of game.
No, that's a fact. I think the whole approach that most people got it's immature. It's a very immature approach. It lacks critical substance.
Yeah.
Just like you said, it's not.
Lamir, can your volume come up?
Say that again.
Can your volume come up? Are you speaking directly into the microphone?
You hear me now?
Absolutely. Indeed.
Yeah, no, it's like Mansa said, it's not our job to sit there and take isolated events about specific individuals who maybe have associated with this person, that person, and say, oh, I don't like the Moors because they were involved with slavery or they had white women, and all of these things is all it's foolishness. It's foolishness, but the relevance of it is you're never gonna get a real approach to reparations with frivolous notions and pseudo concepts like these floating around, because when you're talking about reparations, you're talking about legal claims that are applied to produce relief and results. You know, reparations is not restricted to checks, money. Reparations is broad. That can include a lot of things. Like he said, sovereignty. Absolutely. Why not? I mean, the sovereignty is a obvious resolution to the criminal justice system, and all of the relics and badges of slaveries we got to deal with today that stem from the past. So that's just one thing though, but we need it all. We need it all. I don't just want sovereignty without any other things that are available. I want the whole shebang. You know what I'm saying? That's just my take on it. But I'm gonna digress right there though.
But see,
Now, I want to
here's
interject
okay. But let me just say
real
something
quick.
to what Elamir said. The thing is, Elamir, and I agree with you. But see, uh, sovereignty, we want it all. But sovereignty is that thing. It's that one thing that we need a part of it that gives us that solidifies the fact that, listen, we ain't under your jurisdiction, because that's what this really comes down to. But I digress. We'll continue on that point.
Yeah,
But I
I'm
just want to add that.
I'm just yeah, no, I totally agree. That's on the table. That's like it really should be something that we should be taking no for an answer, because the reality is, all the corruption that you got within this existing system, is a result of people who lack integrity. They're dishonorable, disingenuous, and they crooked. And they only out for the bag. So if they got to step on you to get it, who cares? A lot of these
So,
police officers, for example, they got pensions. Their pensions is tied into the banks. You guys that did plenty of shows about the crooked banking systems and the families involved with that. This stuff is all tied in together. You know what I'm saying? So the
Talk
fact
to
of
him.
it is
Okay.
that
so
full reparations must include sovereignty. Now, there's a few ways we could go about getting this. We got black folks voting every year. Moors, members of the NOI, whatever, Muslims, Kemites, whatever you out there. You got people claiming those identities that vote, but they never have these issues on the ballot. Reparations is never on the ballot. Sovereignty is never on the ballot. We just sat here a few years ago and watched what was that, Brexit?
Yeah, yeah,
Sat there
yeah.
and watched them do it. They was voting about sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
When we gonna have our vote? We're gonna be voting. These are the type of things we need to vote for. But that's one way we could go about it. The other way is a legislative method. That's still going to include voting though, because you got to vote for the legislators. You know what I'm saying? So with that, I'm gonna digress.
yeah, do
Ask
you
your
think
question.
it's a little bit? Hold on. Do you think that it's a little bit disingenuous when people might overhear more saying that they're part and parcel to this particular system, and they adhere to constitutional law or what have you, but they never seem to make the differentiation between what they consider them being a part of and what actually exists. So when people overhear that and they like, well, we're supposed to come under, the auspices of the government or the people that are running government, like how does that?
You,
I
you
don't
know
think
what I think the problem is that the black community at large lacks an understanding of corporations, how corporations function, their purposes, so on and so forth. Not many of us are educated in these types of legal personalities. And because of that, that causes a dysfunction in our ability to organize and actually get things together and be productive, as a collective community. And I think that that's one of the places we need to start. If we're going to be doing community teaching and stuff, we need to start with actually educating our particular offsprings in all kinds of corporate sciences, because that's really a big part of our dysfunction with being able to get these things done.
Yeah, I agree completely. But to speak more directly to the point that or the question that you posed about the disingenuous, it's absolutely intellectually disingenuous but see, you know, people should understand that there's different factions of Moors. There's a lot of different types of Moors out here, just like there's a lot of different types of blacks, because we all the same people, and we all don't have a megalith or one monolith, excuse me, of thought. We all don't share, just like, we're not homogenous with our thoughts. We all have different thoughts, and so you have some Moors out there who will say, I'm part and parcel, because they're running with a certain rhetoric for a certain time period with a certain agenda, i.e. being the Moorish Science Temple of America during the early 1900s, and that particular movement which spoke to that. But today, when we're looking back, there's no way in the world. Now, see, let me just say this: if you understand the history, then you know that the United States and the rebels from England who set up the United States wasn't actually. They didn't do it by themselves. They got a lot of help from the indigenous people, and they got a lot of help from the Moors across the ocean. And when I say that they got a lot of help, I'm talking about in terms of contractual agreements to do things. Mm-hmm. And so that statement is made in context of understanding the historical context and notion of the fact that there were other parties who were a part of constructing what we now know as the United States of America. But looking back in hindsight, in 2020, we in 2020, and as it stands today, we can clearly see that we've never been part and parcel to this country, or to this government, or to this corporation, or to this organization. Because, see, let's not get it twisted. They started out as companies. The Virginia Company, mm-hmm. First of all, it started as the British East India Trading Company. Then you had the Virginia Company, and then they came, and the 13 colonies broke up from the Virginia Company into these 13 different colonies, and then they called themselves an association, the Articles of Association. Then they called themselves a confederacy. So they've been changing their name, they've been changing their style of good, they've been changing everything since they got here. And from those earliest times, and looking back, 2020's hindsight, and we're in 2020, and we can see what's going on today. We've never been part and parcel. So it's just some cool buffoonery when brothers say that.
Let me ask you a question.
Hold on, and I'm the first to say, and they'll admit too, we are very well versed in understanding constitutional law, statutes, how to apply it, court. We know it inside out. We've written over 30 books on this stuff, so I don't want to hear nothing about challenging our mental aptitude when it comes to this particular topic. But excuse my language, it's complete bullshit. We've never been a part and parcel to it, and they've been corrupt from the start. They've always been denying us the constitutional rights that we were supposed to be guaranteed, even if we talk about it under treaty as Moors, and even when they stripped us and denationalized us and passed the 14th Amendment and said we got access to it, then they never gave it to us. So it's completely intellectually disingenuous and dishonest. I digress.
I want to know. You brought up the word Confederacy. I recently saw the Supreme Court decision. They granted the Creek Nation in Oklahoma. You know, part of Oklahoma. I think East Oklahoma. And when I think about Confederacy, I think about different tribes who came together under threat and coercion in some instances, and then in other instances they came together under purpose, right? And these were different tribes, similar to if the schools of thought and knowledge that are out there that would be considered the lost tribes, or they would be considered part of the 12 tribes. You have a large contingency of Moors who are different clans of them. Then you have these Hebrew Israelites that are the Jews, not Ish. You know what I mean? These are the original Jews. Then you have brothers that hail from the continent that are with the RB. So, all of these form a confederate or a confederacy. And my question would be, if a confederacy of us were to form, would we begin to implement, or would our Moorish brothers and sisters who are masters at the pen, right? So henceforth, those, the, right, the pen is mightier than the sword. Could we create our own voting system where we begin to at least vote amongst our confederacies, right, or our networks, to elect and to begin to vote for issues and representatives, spokesmen, people who can speak for us? Because keep in mind, one of the issues that we have as a community and why they're able to play chess and checkers with us, because we have not elected a direct spokesman so they could speak to people who are not certified, who are not necessarily part of the fold, but because they are black or they have melanin or they're in the church, they act like these are the representatives in which they spoke to, which gave them they gave them the cosign, versus that when we were in the confederacies or when we were part of the tribes and whatnot, they had to come to the sachem, they had to come to they had to come to the chief, right? They couldn't sign off anything. So what if we were to go a bit back? Because there's this whole, back
Well,
and forth. Of,
this,
go ahead.
I mean, I mean, nah, this just goes back to what I was just saying about corporations. A confederacy ain't nothing but another term for a type of corporation. You know what I'm saying?
What type of corporation
It's
would it be
nothing
though?
wrong with that. But in order for us to do that science, we got to get thorough in terms of the community, because that's why we ain't did it yet.
Well, I could put it to you like this. Um, well, I got a little bit of earful to say about it, so I didn't mean to cut you off, Element. You got more to say? My bad, because I'm gonna spill
No.
for a second. Okay. Well, here's the thing. Like the brother Elamir was just saying, the way that would look in the modern context would be us forming an association, pretty much a nonprofit association. Because, but again, understanding laws, understanding context, we would have to form an entity outside of jurisdiction to own the entity that would be in their because when you create a company, you got to form it under the laws of a particular state or country or whatever the case may be. So we would have to form it outside and then form it in. But that's a more in-depth conversation for those who know. But let me just speak a little bit more to your point. So here's the thing. That can't be done. Well, before I even say that, let's talk about the U.S. Constitution, which includes the Articles of Association, which is the first thing they created after they became colonies, and then they had the Articles of Confederation, and then they created the United States. But what happened is you had several different Christians. So you had Lutherans, you had Methodists, you had Baptists, you had all these, you had Catholics, you had all these different types of Christians come together and said, listen, we're going to agree to run our thing like this. Okay. Each of us have the right to our religious freedoms. And this is how we're going to run things. We're going to do this way. We're going to do this that way. And that's what they did. And they were all different factions of Christians.
Yeah.
So for us to do that, like you said, because that's exactly what we are. What the problem our people have is, if I hit you with this, it's going to hurt. It's not going to hurt as much as if I did this. You see? So we have to ball our fists together and become united around certain issues that we can unite on, because there's a lot of differences in ideology between the different factions. However, those ideologies and differences of ideologies does not prevent us from uniting on the things that we do agree on. And like you said, we haven't elected as a group of people someone to speak for us. And this is why they can always pull the dumbest Negro off of the train to come and talk and act like he represents the voice of us. You see? And,
Someone
not for nothing, when it comes to wanting somebody to be a spokesman, you have to look at the track record. You have to look at what they've done. Because see, anytime you're talking about being a spokesman, you got to know words and you got to be nice with words. And you also have to know how to get around the slickness of the colonial European descendants. They slick.
very.
And, we demonstrated that with Moors in court, that we wasn't going to allow them to outslick us or out-talk us. We're great representatives to be speaking on the behalf of our people. And we've demonstrated for years that we are unwilling to compromise and sell out. That's the type of people you need talking for you. So I just wanted to put that out there. And there's other brothers too, don't get me wrong. I'm just putting our hat in the presidential run for this stuff. But the point is, today, modernly, the way that would look is that we would have to get together and we would have to agree on a certain list of things, which would include our religious freedoms, because, I'm Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that, not all of our people are Muslim, and I understand that there's racism among foreign Muslims, because, and there's racism among all factions and groups of our people, when it comes to those people who may share the same faith, but not the same skin or ethnicity that we do. So that would be something that we would first have to agree on. We'd also have to agree on a couple of other things, but it can be done. And like the brother Ilamir was saying, the way it would look would be in the form of a nonprofit association in terms of the entity that would be moving within the jurisdiction of the U.S. for our interests. But we would have to form something else to own that entity that's not subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And that's very significant, because what we keep finding out is every time we do something, they try to destroy it. And part of the reason they are successful in doing it is because we did it under their authority, under their laws, and under their system of things that gives them the power and authority to do some specific things. But yeah, I digress. But that's how I say we could it could look today and how it could happen.
But you also still got to deal with the fact that a lot of these people that belong to these different factions happen to be U.S. citizens. So they're always going to be subject to the long arm of the law. However, the Europeans want to abuse it or abuse their authority based on that element alone. And that's just something that's going to be in the way until we're at the level of actually understanding, the civics surrounding the citizenship, essentially,
So
because
my
I
question would
just
be,
don't get it.
my question would be, in 2020, with all of the demonstrations and the different groups online. And, one of the fastest growing movements behind the wall and the feds is the Moorish movement, right?
That's right. That's
It's
right.
spreading like wildfire behind the wall.
That's right.
Brothers are actually coming home. The reason why it's spreading so much is because unlike studies in Kemet or unlike studies in African history, it's applicable. Not to take anything away from the studies or the schools of thought and knowledge, because I'm of the understanding if you incorporate yourself in, I use the medu netta to navigate through my bid and whatnot, and I feel like that opened up doors and got me home safely. But brothers are utilizing real time paperwork. They're going into those law libraries and they are proving beyond a reasonable doubt. It's not a speculatory craft. It's not speculation. It's a actual factual demonstration. It's applicable and people are going home. So it's spreading like wildfire. And brothers are they're able to help change lives with that information. So I'm like, are the numbers not healthy enough to just begin, building up what is known as, a smaller confederation? Because I feel the technology is on the side of any movement or any individuals who wish to move in an organized manner to create any type of what they call there's a technological term for it. How they have subscription and membership models and whatnot. You just have to have a membership model. A membership model. They have membership sites and membership platforms that host 500,000, and the gaming sites host multiple millions and whatnot. So the integration, if we were able to utilize gamification, if we were to utilize a little bit of social media, just a framework, we could have an online type of, collective where the voting could be digitally, is done through the blockchain. Is Can't be really, there's a level of openness to it and security. And I feel like some things can happen, bro. And
Yeah.
we could bypass. I don't mean to cut your wisdom. I feel that we could bypass the attachment to the system, and only we don't have a dualistic mind. We don't have a double consciousness when it comes to the system. We only got the system. So we're not utilizing this other dual nature to be like, nah, that's the system, but we over here with our new system, or we're over here with this new, we're outside of the jurisdiction because we're functioning within a network that supports us and it's feeding us, and we're helping each other. And in that, because remember, in my humble opinion, sovereignty starts in the mind first. It has to be, it's a demonstration, it's a way of life.
Absolutely. Um,
Absolutely, absolutely. I just want to say too, on that note, is sovereignty is not, exclusively about just not being in the jurisdiction per se.
Yes.
Because you can be in a sovereign capacity and they'll still impose their particular laws on you. For example, I think it was the Venezuela president, the Department of Justice, a couple months ago issued warrants for.
Yes.
Then you just
And
had
it's like
the Iran, Iraq just issued warrants for Trump. You
facts.
see what I'm saying? So I mean, it's definitely something we need to get to. But just for those that's just thinking it's all the jurisdiction. That's not the whole circumference of this thing. It's more to it than that. You know what I'm saying for the viewers.
yeah, well,
Now,
the thing is too, though, it may not be the whole thing to it, but it is the central thing to it. Just like our body, we have a heart and a brain that's very central to our existence, and without it, we wouldn't exist. However, it takes more than just the heart and the brain to have a functioning body. You see what I'm saying? So I agree 100%, but we can't move the needle on the fact that the heart and the soul of the issue is predicated upon their jurisdiction and the sovereignty, because it's the fact that they claim authority over us. So I was watching a stream. Hold on. I was watching a stream with the brother Professor Smalls. He said something deep about Amin Hotep, who said 2,000-3,000 years ago that the mistake that they made in Kemet was thinking that freedom was something that was obtained and that was it. He said, once you're free, you have to have a certain level of striving for things in order to maintain the freedom.
That's facts.
So it's not about just getting out of the jurisdiction or just having sovereignty, because those are elements of freedom. But it's what we do every day to maintain the freedom that makes the difference between a success or a failure. Because Haiti is a sovereign nation.
Right.
But look at it. Look at the African nations that are sovereign nations. But they have the right. They have the established protocol and the established right to determine that this is what we're going to do as a nation. But what I was going to say to your point, though, brother.
Enforced.
Huh?
I said, seemingly, at a state level, that doesn't seem to be, or at a country level, that's not enough, they say, because now it needs to be enforced. So that they have to take another step. So they're like, shit, you got freedom, but you still owe. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, absolutely. And that leads me to my next point. My next point is that what we're doing, everybody's playing a part, everybody's playing a role. But what you just brought up is something that we're actually doing in Murakush. And part of the reason, and there's a lot of brothers that's contributing to brothers in jail coming out on the federal level and on the state level. But make no mistake about it, Murakush is at the center of it. We've put the most hard-hitting information out there, put the most books out that are obtainable to make this thing tangible so that brothers understand their identity in relation to the laws that exist. We get plenty of brothers that come home from the feds, from states, and like, listen, man, y'all legendary in there because of the things that y'all doing and the material that y'all put out. But there's a lot of other brothers, don't get me wrong, that's in the fight, and they are contributing to it. So the thing that's different about the Moorish movement in general is once you get in it, you have to be active. It calls for action. But the problem amongst us Moors is that I'm just going to keep it real with you.
Please do.
Everybody want to be a chief. There's not enough Indians. You see? And that's just the bottom line to it. You understand? Not everybody, most of the Moors feel that once they get this information, once they do something with it or something like that, see, when you first get this Moorish information, it does something to you. It make your spine stand up straight. It gives you the confidence in a different way that none of the other schools of thought could give you.
Facts.
So once you get your nobility back, you're like, oh, I'm a noble out here. I'm sorry, I'm this, I'm that. You see? So sometimes, but then life hits you, got to calm down from that. That's a natural phase. It's just like when you wake up out of the matrix for the first time, like in the movie, you're like, oh, what's going on here? You know what I'm saying? So the whole point is that there's too many chiefs, not enough Indians. And to the other point, that's what we're working on. We're working on ramping up our platform to have our own cryptocurrency, to have our own system where people can log in and support. And quite frankly, man, it's just not enough support. It's just not enough. And this is not something that's just an issue among Moors. It's an issue among all of our people. And one of the things I always say is it's enough people that's claiming more. It's enough of us that claim more as an identity where we could have been doing something as a group.
They don't seem to come under one banner.
Right.
And it's not centralized. I think this was an issue 10 years ago where there's
My
like
brother, I don't mean to cut your wisdom, but Ilamir could confirm this. We was reading the book before, and they said part of the reason that the Moors fell before is that they didn't have a central authority.
bro,
Yeah,
these
you
things are
had
repeating themselves.
they had too many dynasties that wouldn't unionize.
Wasn't unionized.
You know,
Right.
they rather ally with other non-Moors fighting against other Moors.
And that's
You
how
know, that type of stuff.
Alhambra fell. Remember, Baobab, he got Muhammad X got crossed by his uncle, and his uncle teamed up with the Christians, right? So the confederations or the confederacies, they were defeated by who? Other confederacies.
Yeah,
Why?
he also fought against his brother and his father.
And his father.
You
But then
know,
when you go all the way back to the Umayyad dynasty, that was infighting, right? The fact
yep,
that the Umayyad dynasty, they wiped out his whole family. They wiped out his whole bloodline.
yeah,
So remember, Kemet had beef with the Iberian Peninsula Moors. They were running plays on each other. So that whole caliphate from Syria and all of that, they wasn't rocking with the Moors over here. So when the Moors over here, the Moors in Spain fall and they crawling back to Africa, guess who's running down on them? Right? Guess who's pulling ops on them? Guess who's selling them to the people, because people blaming the Moors, talking, oh, you put people in slave. Unless you a Becky and a Karen, you shouldn't be talking about anything, bro. Because what happened was when the Moors lost the war in 1492 and whatnot, they got pushed back into Africa. And then those Europeans who got strong legs, they went after the Portuguese, and other people were going after those same West African Moors, those same Muslims and whatever. And when they Christianized the kings, kings in the Congo and whatnot, Alfonso and all of them, and when they were able to barter and trade, because this has always been about trade routes, it's always been about bartering. The same way that people sell birds these days, they were selling humans. Human trafficking was similar to people that flip birds.
absolutely.
Yeah, they were similar to narco states. They were running people like they run birds. Now they do it. It's called organ harvesting, sex trafficking, human trafficking. It's a little more it's more underground right now. It's more heinous and things of that nature. But back in those days, you know,
Yeah,
I mean, it's pretty much the
that's why
same.
one of the
pretty much
things
the
I
same.
noticed is
It's heartless.
in alignment with that is that 60 to 80 years before Grenada fell, the Portuguese had attacked Morocco and ultimately took 5 cities. See,
Right.
these are part of the details that are largely not discussed in these quote unquote African American slave trade narrative. They leave out in most blacks per se, because this is found in the actual historical records. When you start doing research on the trade, they leave out from the fact that from the 1400s to the 1600s, the slaves that were being taken from Africa were largely from the west coast of Morocco. It's not until the early 1600s when they start breaching into the Senegambia regions further down in the Congo and all that. So you got 200 years of Northwest Africans being enslaved by the Portuguese.
And the French.
And
Yeah.
They come in
And you
later.
know the thing about all of this too, that's very important to understand within context is the Silk Road began in West Africa, Timbuktu in particular, and it went to Asia. See, goods came from Africa into Asia and from Asia to Europe. Okay, that was the trade route, and then so you got to understand that the Europeans chased the Moors along the trade routes
Trade route.
because the whole thing was about taking over the trade of the Moors.
That's
And see,
right.
the thing is, Moors was moving sugar like crack back in the day. They were selling their wives and their daughters to the Moors for sugar. And
Facts.
they called it crack because they would take it and they crack a piece of it off and they called it crack, literally. You
Facts.
understand? So when you even talk about today, the trade, it's always about the trade in terms of the end goal, because he who controls the trade controls the world. And that's what they actually did. So what happened was slavery was the transatlantic slave trade was a byproduct of them capturing the trade from us. Yes, somebody just said the spice trade. That's exactly what it is.
So
Spice,
when you
Spice Wars.
so
If you look at Queen Elizabeth's portrayal, she lost all her teeth because of the sugar addiction that she had.
that's fact.
Mm.
When you see Trump begin the trade war with China, that is provocation for the world war because he is attacking the trade routes. He launched war against the small entrepreneurs. He decimated the entrepreneurs in America who were connected through China, through the Silk Road. The new Silk Road is the Africa, China, Asia connection. It's still booming. The Asia, the India, Africa, China, Eurasia connection. That Silk Road is still going strong. It's called Alibaba. They have the Bat stock market, Alibaba, Tencent, and that's all Eurasia. And then you got Russia backdooring it with BRICS and everything. And then Donald Trump is disrupting sex trafficking and human trafficking. He's disrupting the trade. He's taking over the trade routes. That's called a rat line. So what they call in the deep state, they run with all of these rackets that they run are rat lines. So they have these rat lines the same way that they had rat lines when Clinton and Bush and all of them had the drug routes. They had first they had Latin America, then they went and took the Caribbean, then they went and took Puerto Rico. They went and ran down on Honduras and Jamaica. It's all about these routes.
Right.
Yeah. So
Snowfall show you that. Snowfall, the TV show Snowfall show you that.
So the small time businesses that were popping off of Alibaba, Alipay, they were cutting out the middleman. People were going and get the bundles, right? They were going to get the hair directly from India. They were importing the hair directly from different places. They were white labeling things. Trump was like, that gotta stop. He killed the China thing. If you were getting your stuff from China and you a small business, let me know how that's working for you. You know what I'm talking about? Let me know how that's going for you. Because they kind of put an end to that. And before the corona, everybody was going up in prices because they were saying because of the tariffs, right? Do tariffs lead to wars?
Absolutely.
Right? Is that not provocation when we go and do the Moorish history about all of the things that were taking place during the Barbary War,
right? Absolutely.
Boston Tea Party. You know, all of this is dealing with tariffs. All of this are provocations. Is basically poking the bear.
Absolutely. Well, see, here's the thing. There's a lot of pieces.
Money, man.
Yeah. It's a lot of moving pieces when it comes to that. Because on one hand, you have China, who's nobody's friend, and they are seeking to outdo the European in colonialism.
Yeah.
The reason they were able to even have to be the connect, to be the plug, the reason they are the plug is because they enslaved their own people. You know, they put nets outside of the factories where the Chinese people work at because they would jump to their deaths. So they put nets out there so they couldn't commit suicide. You understand? So then what does China do? They want to reinvigorate, like you said, they got Alibaba. They want to reinvigorate that spice route again. So they came into Africa, start making deals with all the Africans. You understand what I'm saying? Taking over their lands and stuff like that. And then then they took over the Caribbean. You see what I'm saying? They even in the Caribbean, Dominican Republic gave them a whole port. You see? So the whole point is that just like in Game of Thrones, Littlefinger says chaos is the ladder. And right now, things are so chaotic that this is the opportune time for us to come together as a people globally. Now, you got so many different factions. You got this ADOS movement thing. and they're saying, "Oh, we don't want." Like, it's all the rules, man. What's the thing about the trade, Aki? What's the thing about the trade, big bro? Cut the middleman out.
That's
Get
right.
to the plug. Cut the middleman out.
Get right
The
to it.
European has been the middleman for 500 years, and that's how he got his power, by being the middleman.
Yo, you took the words. I mean, I'm glad that you said it, because I said it. I was like, fam, this is not hard. This is a game of getting the middleman out the way. He was in the way the whole time. He was the buffer. And as the buffer, he was putting mad taxes on your goods. You are industrious. You are illustrious. We created our own industry. You don't need them anymore. You know what
No.
saved my mind? Is as you know, as overlooked as it may be, was this conscious community, bro. As you know, as painful, as
Oh yeah.
taking. I'm talking about, if the people, if I looked what I've been through.
Nah, I know. I know, bro. We resilient. I know. Trust me, I know.
Man,
The backbiting, the backstabbing, the lying, the cheating, the underhandedness.
Man, bro, I'm talking about, I got so many cuts.
Oh man.
Know? I got so many lashes. I got so many knives in my back.
I know.
But it showed me that you could be illustrious, right? Off of your lifestyle, right? You could reclaim that which is yours by being it, right? They say
That's
just
right.
be, right?
That's right.
I am. It's not that difficult. There's one thing to study something, and it's another thing to be it.
That's
right? It's one thing to
Talk
read the Quran, and it's one thing to actually live the Quran. It's
That's
two
right.
different things. I lived it. I know what it is. You know what I'm talking about? And you know, living it and being essential in 2020, where the herbs are now, you know, they're accepted. They are now, they've mass adopted herbal treatments. You know, the aspect of wearing crystals, that's now been accepted. You know, so many things have been accepted, and it shows you now that we could show the people and those who are watching that if you push and if you stand on something and if you believe in something and if that's what it is, if you say what it is what it is. That's a micro to the macro. So the macro is, we said that we God, we said that we sovereign, we said this is us, we said that we won already, and we have to push that the same way that we push sea moss, crystals, you know, shiny suits.
Yeah. You know, I was just telling somebody that today. I said, listen, all we got to do is stand up and say, this is what it is, this is who we are, this is how we moving, and this is how we doing. And the ball is in their court. See, the whole thing is, they will never kill us all. And we've never put them in the position to say, look, you got to kill us all. And the reason I say that is because when you got sheep, you don't want to slaughter the whole herd. You don't want to slaughter the whole herd. You want to cull it. You'll cull the herd. You'll kill some of them to keep it the size controllable and to use what you kill. But you're not trying to kill all the sheep. You see? And so our power is in the fact that we just got to call their bluff. This is what we're doing. This is how we moving. We're doing business with each other. We're doing business with our brothers across the ocean. And this is how we moving. And that's just that. And it takes, for those of us who know, like our people have a problem. We don't know how to walk and chew gum at the same time. You see? See, because it's always just one thing that captures our attention and we all just focused on that one thing. But just like a body has several different involuntary processes that it's going through. You don't have to think for your digestive system to work. It works automatically. You put the right stuff in it, it works beautifully. You see? So the whole point is that you got brothers who doing great things in the financial area. You know, you got brothers doing great things in the political area, brothers and sisters, excuse me, doing great things. And we got everybody we need right where they need to be. We just got to bring it together and remove the middleman. Now, it may sound easier said than done, but it is easier done than said because we never tried it before. We keep relying on the middleman. And the fact is, he became the middleman because we used him to launch proxy wars against each other. That's how he got the power. That's how he got the secrets, because he was the middleman between us fighting each other.
Facts.
People, and what are we doing today? Fighting each other.
Let me ask you this, brother. What is your thoughts on the demonstration that you've seen in Seattle with the autonomous zone? With what they call TAS. You know,
see, yeah. What I think is, see, you got these you have these thought leaders, as they call them, right? And they have these think tanks, and they're backed by certain funding mechanisms. And then what happens is a rollout or a test to see how things will look, how will it turn out. Before this thing hit, right? I saw it specifically on the news where they said this was a live drill.
A live drill. Pompeo said it.
Yeah, and Trump was standing next to him and said, "Well, you should have let us know that." Under his breath, he said it. You could catch it on the mic.
That's fact.
So what I think about the autonomous zone is the liberals flirting with the concept, because you gotta understand, like, they want the China model, and they want to roll out this situation where technology becomes the barrier between the people running the system and the people operating under the control of the system. And so they flirt with different scenarios to see how it will go. So when I look at the autonomous zone thing that took place in Seattle, what it appears to me to be is a situation where the mayor or the people in power at that particular point was saying, let's see what transpires from setting up an autonomous zone. Is it going to be, are the people going to make this something that is profitable or that can expand to different cities? Or will it just be, you know, something that they're going to lose on in terms of its success? So what happened is a person got killed in that zone, and then they shut it down. You see,
three bodies.
Three people. Yeah, three people. Excuse me, 3 people got killed.
Yeah.
But the concept, the thing about it is that to suggest autonomy doesn't mean no government. See, here's the main trick about government that people are not catching, and because it's in the essence is in the word. Govern means to control. Ment, M-E-N-T, means mind. So government is literally mind control. You got to think about it. They give us a social security card. You get an ID. You know, it's just a card, you know, with some stuff printed on it, and it's in your pocket. Okay? And, you know, people agree to go by these rules. People agree to say that, you know, this is their identity. And all of these things is based on mind control. You see, because the only reason everybody goes along with it is because of fear of reprisal from them. You see? So the whole bottom line is you must control your own mind first, and then you can come together with others to create a situation where everyone's controlling their mind in context to submission to the law, or agreeing to submit yourself to how the law is going to be executed. Because if we did come together, because a lot of our people got this concept that having our own land, our own country, our own government, our own sovereignty means to be lawless. You see, they think that just means lawlessness, and that's not what it means. What it means is that being in control of your own fate, being able to determine and serve out justice among yourselves, because those who fail to govern themselves will be subject to those who are going to govern them. You see? So ultimately what I think of the autonomous zone was that it was a project so that they can ultimately point to and say, look, the people don't know what they're doing, but it's an oxymoron, because at the same time, the people are the ones that make it so the mayor, law enforcement, the city, all of these places can exist, because the word court itself etymologically means open spaces and open to the public. So that is the realm, supposed to be the realm of the people. See, there was an article that also came out that said Americans don't even know their rights enough to enforce it. So there's a massive civic ignorance, you see, that is abounding amongst our people, that make and Americans in general, that makes it so they don't have the proper concept of what they're actually doing in the first place. But I digress there.
Henceforth, why our spokesman or spokeswoman has to be very well versed in civics. They have to be very well versed in legalese. They have to be very well versed in double talk, because, like you said, those who you will be speaking to will speak to you in a language that is not necessarily considered to be the king's English or the queen's English. They're going to speak to you in colorable terms. They're going to speak to you in ways that are going to be disingenuous, and you're going to and you need to know history. You need to know the conflict. You need to know who you're speaking to. You need to know, when you ask a European, what is your nationality? What is the nation of descent that you descend from? And based off of that, you could determine the level or the degree of trust that you could even bestow upon said European. Because if you meet a European and they tell you they're from Spain, and you've identified yourself as a Moor, and you don't know who they are, you just around, that's like Moors from the MSTA who are not well versed in Moorish history. They don't go they don't go anywhere past 1492. And then they go amongst these Americans that they claim they're part and parcel to. They don't ask the nationality of said Europeans. They don't know if they're Irish. They don't know if they're Italian. They don't know if they're Franks. They don't know if they're the Germanic tribes. So even giving them the knowledge, or breaking down who they are, or determining or measuring what level of ally are they, renegados, where do they fall into place? How could you determine that if you're just seeing them as a United States American citizen? That's disingenuous.
But let me ask you this, based on your observation of what's taking place in Seattle, one, would what the Moors are proposing look something like that in regards to an autonomous zone being a separate state? And two, what would you have done different, to consecrate that particular demonstration, to make it non-breaker, non-approachable, where they could come in there and say, we're gonna flip this thing inside out based on X, Y, and Z? Because not to cut you, but I had seen an interview with the brother that they said was running it, right? And he said that he's like, I'm in communication with the mayor, police chief, fire chief. He said he get briefings from them every day. You know what I'm saying? The second, what you were saying in regards to them sitting back and allowing something to play out as an experiment, you feel me? He said that they was allowing them to do that demonstration, and they was checking them every day.
Collecting data.
That's deep. Yeah, deep. Collecting data. That's deep.
Well, he told me, the dude said he don't even know what Antifa is. I'm like, come on, son. Even if that's true, how you gonna put yourself in that position that you allowing them to label you the leader of said demonstration,
right?
But you don't even know who the potential agent in your backyard is. You don't know what Antifa is,
right?
They said,
and see,
I'm like, come on.
Real quick, the brother who said that he disagrees that a lot of Moors in the temple know a lot about Moorish history. Yes, they do. Now they do. That's a current thing. You got to understand that we've been here. We understand the level of information that they were exposed to prior to the rise of the Moors outside of the temple, who taught them the information, like Hakim Bey and a whole bunch of other people, C. Freeman, a whole bunch of other people. ALF, you know, when the brothers, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I mean, we was a part of that. You know what I'm
that's
saying?
right. So
When we,
come on now,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
I mean, back then, man, you know, back then, like we've been doing this 14 years plus, you know, and back then, you would be hard pressed to go into a Moorish science temple and have a grand sheik teach you what you know, what's available to the Moors now. You know what I'm saying? And that come from years of work that personally we put in, of course, but we came we came in after the Hakeem Beys, the Tajes. You know what I'm saying? They were our OGs. You know what I'm saying? They gave us a lot of game and gave us a lot of insight and pointed us in those directions. And a great teacher gonna always tell you, keep studying.
that's a fact. When
Great teacher gonna always tell you that.
when True Master went to Germany,
Mhm.
broke down the Blackamoor, the
Yeah,
Blackamoor
that was epic. That was epic.
and put that back.
Empire, right?
We was there. We was there. Matter of fact,
Yeah,
we was all there in Long Island
look,
University. A. Rashid
Yeah,
was up there teaching
yeah,
that day. So I remember, man. Come
yeah.
yeah,
on, man. They wasn't outside. It
Mm-hmm.
that's
wasn't
right.
outside then.
Yeah,
Nah, it wasn't on the porch
it
yet.
wasn't Christopher Walken. It
Yeah,
was Walken.
yeah,
Look,
yeah.
I think that was a National Black Theater, and that was the most packed that I remember Wednesday class. It
He
was
did
so
too. He did
true.
too.
Facts. He did the spillover at Moorish class, and it was so packed. We was all the way in the back, bro, looking through the crowd to see him doing a demonstration.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
that was that.
No, that was legendary. That was legendary
That's
when he
why.
went in on the
That's why.
Bavaria and all that.
Exactly. That's why I said this is a centrifugal thing. This is a cycle. It's a divine. Me and Blue identify our demonstration 5-year intervals.
Mm.
I came to New York in '05, right?
Mm.
That's when I set it off. I touched 2/5. I got a taste of that. Sinetta and them was out there. The Felders were out there. It was a movie, right? 2010. That's the beginning of Blog Talk era, right? That's a
Hmm.
whole nother. That's podcast. That's the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. We
Podcast,
kicked that. A lot of people don't know we
yo,
kicked that whole thing, this whole podcasting thing.
we kicked.
We all started
Yeah,
that, especially us four that's on the line. We had the two
trying to tell
hottest joints
you.
that was out.
Hold on, yeah. Not only that, in 2010, you helped me change the name from the Ruler 44 to the Law 44. You did that.
Hey, hey, that's between you and I, but honest for putting that out there. But people don't know we all go way back, man. They
That's
just don't
right.
understand it.
So look,
They don't understand it.
Yeah.
2010, that's the beginning of the Blog Talk era. 2015, that's me jumping back on the YouTube. That's the end of Blog Talk. And I'm like, yo, I look good on video. I'm rolling with that. You know what I'm talking about? Because remember, in
Yeah.
the podcast world, it's audio. Oh, it's not visual. Or it wasn't visual on blog.
Right.
You were
Right.
students were more attentive. Why?
Yes.
Because it's audio based. It's
Yes.
not visual. Ego was still there, but it was not there to the degree that what YouTube provided. When
Right.
YouTube introduced the video, where niggas could see themselves,
Yeah. It went
it was
bonkers.
another level of ego. And it's
Right.
excited because remember, '08 and '09, it was going crazy. And
Crazy.
then the radio came and took it underground, right? Similar to the beginning of the Matrix when it opens up and Mr. Anderson is listening to the radio. He's on the radio, and then he's jugging on he's jugging on the Silk Road. He's jugging, he's bubbling on a deep web because he's selling narcotics.
Yeah.
And he's not online, he's not on the internet, he's on another type of router. He's on the Onion router. And then it's all verbal. He doesn't see Morpheus and he don't see Trinity. He hears them.
Yep.
All right. Family. Yeah. Can you let them answer the question, please?
Yeah, okay. All right, so the question was what would have been done differently and different things like that. Well, I'll put it like this. Number one, for starters, I'll answer it two ways. If I was in his position and what we would probably pretty much do, just approaching a situation like that in general. So I'll start like this. One of the things is when it comes to autonomy, one of the highest levels of autonomy that can be reached in the United States is having a religious corporation. Okay, that's in terms of within the jurisdiction of the United States when it comes to uh, reducing tax liability, all of these different things that's very significant to the operation of commerce, right? So the other thing is that property, property that's owned, people that own property are the ones that get to make the decisions about what's going on in their community in that regard. So like at your town meetings and different things like that, your town councils and stuff like that, that's all the property owners who elect representatives in the town to speak on their behalf or make policy on their behalf. So we start from the root up, right? So what Moors need to do and what our people in general need to do, but specifically as Moors, is we need to fortify ourselves and within the context of making sure that we're living in a place where we own the property, and so that we can make the decisions of what goes on with that particular property. Because it's really all it's about is property rights. You see what I'm saying? And so what that does is it gives us the context of the proper commerce that must be conducted. Because then once you have property, you need what? You need a security force. You see? So you need to have your own private security. And this is not nothing major. The Jews do this in New York City. You got other groups that do this all throughout the country where they create they buy property in a particular place, and then they provide the security for that particular sets of properties. And then they have themselves on autonomy, because that's actually how it works. You see what I'm saying? The whole thing is that our people don't understand that in order to get into these positions, you have to be doing commerce at a certain level. You see? The other thing is, if I was that guy in his position where I was in communication or with the mayor and they was just monitoring the situation, what I would have done is ask for allocation of resources, okay, first of all, and to in the form of monies to form private security or to pay private security. We would have probably formed our own private security corp for that particular purpose, got the money from them, paid our private security to protect the autonomous zone, number one. And number two, I would have also told the major corporations and told the mayor and all those people to make sure that the major corporations in the city give us supplies and make it a place to give out supplies to those in need. That's how you stop it from becoming what it became. Because if anybody comes, see again what Amin Hotep said, freedom without purpose will lead to no freedom. You see? So it's a continuous thing. So that means that it has to be with a purpose. So that's when I say that they just wanted to see an experiment. They put the power in some brother's hand, and we don't even know who this guy is. How was he even the one selected for that? You see?
He said he was the alpha of the situation. You know, because we know what Seattle is. It's a liberal stronghold. Right. You know, it's mainly nerdy, geeky white boys. So someone was there on his alpha energy, and they were just like, dude, you know, why don't you be the leader? Right. And he said he stepped in that position. What was different than what you know, how you laying it out and what you're saying is that they provided the security, but they didn't own the businesses, right? The commerce was there, but it wasn't the particular engine. So what did the businesses say? Oh, they're extorting us.
Right. Got you. Well, here's the thing. That's why I said if I was in communication with the mayor and these other people who was allowing this to ride, I'd tell them to make sure the major corporations is on board, because they can call it extortion because it's about how you frame the context. But that's why I said if you made it a place where you was giving supplies to people need, because remember, this is in the middle of a quote unquote pandemic and all of these types of things. You have to be, when you're in leadership, you have to be for the people and about the people, and making sure you're servicing the needs of the people. So that autonomous zone would have been a zone where people in need could get the things they need in the middle of a pandemic. And then you wouldn't have had, then the major corporations wouldn't have been able to say it was extorting, because their job is to exist for profit, and they get tax benefits for giving things away. You see what I'm saying? So they wouldn't have been being extorted because, hey, you give stuff away and it's tax exempt already. You see? So a little bit of it has to do with your sophistication and knowledge of understanding how commerce works, you know. But yeah, I mean, you know, the thing about this stuff is that right now is the best time for us as a people, and especially as brothers, to make strong moves, because right now, quote unquote white people, we already know the game between you know, colors and stuff like that, and race and all that. But right now, they're on it like this. We just want you guys to shut up about this slavery thing already. What do you want? What do we got to do so we can get over this stuff already? You see? So now is the best time. You know, and we put a 9-point system together. I don't have it right in front of me. I've been looking for it. I misplaced it. I don't know if you got it, brother Elamir, but there's a 9-point system of 9 things that we should get in reparations. You see? Because see, one thing that we didn't get to talk about real quick that I just want to delve into just a little bit is the nature of the reparations claim. Because you have the ADOS movement out there as well, right? And, you know, I know a lot of brothers identify with it, you know, more power to you. But to me, it's a psyop meant to divide our people globally, because because then you got this group of people who say, well, I'm indigenous and I ain't no African who got trafficked here, and my people ain't immigrants and this, that, and third. And we're not realizing that the system of white supremacy, which comes out of the Christian doctrine of discovery, which says to subjugate the Moors, steal their stuff and kill them and subject them to slavery and steal their identity, they're unified in that. And they don't see us any different. They only divide us when it is convenient for them to do so.
Right.
However, the attacks that they unleash on us indiscriminately is based on the same premise that they see us all the same. So I'm not saying that we see ourselves as all the same because they do. I'm saying that it's advantageous that we decrease the concepts or the perspective of division or the lines of divisions as much as possible, because that's how we get the middleman out of the way. You understand? So the way reparations works is, you know, you definitely have the different European powers, but when it comes to the United States in particular, we have to say to ourselves, what are they doing to deny it to us? See, we have to prove, and we know this intrinsically because we've been litigating in court, helping other brothers and sisters and doing our own thing for our own issues for over 10 years, you know, in the court. So we understand what the court perspective is on this. And if you survive the battlefield, if a war breaks out and the shooting starts and you survive that, they're going to drag you into court. So we have to know the legal articulation so that we can prove that what they were doing to us was illegal and that they broke laws. And that's what is established when you understand those treaties that they made with the Moors, because those treaties were established to nullify the application of the doctrine of discovery against us. Okay, and so that we wouldn't be turned into slaves when we met on the high seas or when we met on land. And this is why it's significant for the Moorish identity to be accepted and embraced amongst our people, because in the legal discussion, when they were freeing us or when they were giving the appearance of freeing us, they said that the Negro is free. That's not a status in law. This is during the time of the 13th Amendment. They said that's not a status in law. But we can't give him rights that he didn't have in England. So if he had no rights in England, we can't give him those rights now because the law of England shall continue. But then when you go into the British treaties with the sultans or the Moors and things like that, then you see that we have rights in medieval England under that identity. So if we are about evolving and growing, we have to know that the difference between apples and oranges, so that we know when it comes to law, this identity is what gives us the ability to claim, make certain claims that we can't if we run in with the identity of Black, Negro, and African American. And if
So
anybody wants to understand why that's a issue, just go look up Federal Directive 15, read all the classification for races, and y'all tell me the difference. Why is the definition for Black different than any other definition? And if you want Black to mean something more than what the European made it in that context, then you should lobby to get Federal Directive 15 changed to say that Black people means that you are anyone who have origins in any of the original peoples of Earth. Because wherever you go, we was the first people there.
Facts.
So I just want to say that and not digress.
let me ask you this. So if we was to formulate a unilateral diasporic class action suit, right, for Moorish people that are spread throughout the diaspora, like you said, you know, it wasn't just something that was just based on quote unquote slaves that was brought over here, but wherever we at in the four corners, that being the Caribbean, through the Americas, through Europe, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Would that particular claim be taken to the international court? Because technically, this corporation is only 244 years old. You know what I'm saying? And that particular violation that we're speaking about is a lot older than this quote unquote country. So
absolutely, that's why you gotta tap France, Spain, England, Germany. See,
and what about if the doctrine of discovery was the original document that gave them the marching orders to fan out, look for Moors and Saracens throughout the world and take everybody's shit if they didn't come under Christendom, would the Vatican not be the rightful person to come at these class action lawsuits with in international court?
Oh, they're part of it too. They're part of it too.
They would
They're
have.
part of
I
it
mean,
too.
they're a party that's liable. I would
And
say.
Right.
another I would say,
As far as go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, as far as international court, like these claims got to be brought in the courts of the liable parties. The only way you get into an international court is if you got recognition as a sovereign government. They don't take claims from just general populations. You know what I mean? But claims could be brought in the U.S. courts, the British courts, the French courts. I mean, whoever you feel like is a liable party, got the evidence.
Spain, Portugal.
So
what I would suggest is it would take the current Black sovereign states in the Caribbean and in Africa to get behind us so that they can be the launching pad to get those suits into the International Criminal Court, because they already have that recognition, you know. But also, like the brother Ilamir was saying, you see, pretty much we need to sue everybody everywhere. It's that simple. We got all the data. We know where they see. People be saying, oh, the slave trade didn't happen the way we thought, and this, that, and the third. Listen, man, they kept excellent records because they was taking over the trade. Okay, it was a trade that they was taking over, and this is about money. So that's why we got all these records. So we know what everybody did, how they did it, how they got it off. We just need to sue everybody and everywhere, in every court that's available to sue them there, because the UN already agrees that the US needs to start needs to pay reparations. International bodies just called for England to repair, and you know this is
The
This is the one
Vatican,
time I'm gonna say this.
the Vatican repealed the doctrine uh decades ago. You know,
They
so
did.
Yeah.
as far as the
But that
Vatican
doesn't.
is concerned, the doctrine is. I'm not saying that somehow gets rid of their liability for past crimes. I'm just saying that the current ruling regimes that are still relying on it. You know, like
Yeah, like the U.S. The
for example,
U.S. relies on it.
the whole
You
North
know.
America. I mean, Canada,
Right.
the whole America, all the states in America rely on the doctrine of discovery.
Right.
All of them, Mexico, Canada, so on and so forth.
Right.
So for those particular parties, the fact that the Vatican says that those particular laws is void and BS, is a part of the claim.
Right. No, absolutely, absolutely. And
Or,
another thing I'll add though is, you know, one thing I could say about the Meghan Markle chick and Harry is she got this year. She working this European, yo. She got him out there talking about how the British need to make right for all the colonial wrongs they did and all kind of stuff. So I gotta give her credit for that.
yeah,
She taking it to the British Crown neck on that one. I got to give her credit for that.
well,
She got Prince Harry out there talking about, making righting the wrongs of colonialism and stuff like that that the British Empire is liable for.
they made him give up his title
Yeah,
essentially. He's just
That's right.
honorary. He kind of got stripped. He got
Downgraded.
he got a
he got downgraded.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
capital
My question is this. I got
Diminutio
two questions.
minimum.
I got two questions.
Mhm.
One, what is your thoughts on the emergence of the militia movement, right?
Mhm.
And how would that fare with being able to hire now private security interests to protect private interests and to secure individuals? Because now we have, if this is a gig economy, meaning that we are going to employ brothers and sisters, because there were sisters that were exercising their Second Amendment. If we're going to employ a security firm or security forces, we have those employees activated, right? They're active now. So now they need commerce. Now they need to basically be they need contracts to begin to open up for these organizations. There was an organization in Shreveport. I forgot the name of it. Sleep is for the rich. They actually got two facilities. I saw one in Shreveport and I saw another one in Houston. Brick and mortar, 4,000 square feet in one of them, right? I don't know if this was a donation. I don't know if he got it as a result of fundraising, but what I know is that the brother's video went viral and he was able to secure physical brick and mortar, an address, which is very important, right? That is extremely important. And that's something that a lot of organizations haven't necessarily, they haven't done that with success. And,
Absolutely.
and what was the other one that I wanted to add on? I wanted to add on what y'all were just talking about, in regards to, damn, I'm forgetting what I wanted to speak about. Let's just focus on the aspect of the militia.
Okay. Well, my thoughts on that is, yeah, absolutely. See, the thing is, it takes us as a people to put our pennies and nickels and coins together and secure our communities by so like the buy the block campaigns that brothers got is a real good strategy. Also, taking advantage of USDA loans. You know what I'm saying? Is something that I think that brothers and sisters haven't really fully taken advantage of, because
USDA.
that, yeah, USDA loans, because you, as long as the town is under 50,000 people, and they'll give you money. They'll give you the money to buy the land and to build a house on it, and they even give it to businesses. So a lot of what could be considered reparations is locked up into those USDA loans, and they at real low interest rates. And I'm not saying that's reparations. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that's a step. That's a really good step into securing food sources and land. Okay, so that you're connected from the rural to the suburban to the city level. Okay, so that those contracts can open up efficiently for the security, private security, because security is based around protecting products, property, and products. So if you have food that has to travel from the brothers and sisters that's growing it in our rural areas to bring it to our suburban areas to get it to our city areas where we're at, we can employ our security, private security firms to secure the transport of these things. You see, so that's so one. You just got to open up the trade. You got to open up the commerce. You see what I'm saying? There's a guy named Shyaam. He was a Kuba king in the Congo, right? And the way he became powerful is that he opened up the trade between the tribes, and that trade created so much abundance for them that it called for them to secure it against the Portuguese and the colonizers.
That's right.
So opening up the trade with each other is essential. And the first thing is food. Like Jadakiss said, he said, old head told me groceries is bigger than dope. Always have been, always will be.
I was told that in Miami.
Back to sugar.
2 weeks ago, I was sitting in my bro's Big Teach Range Rover, and he paid a $30,000 bill on his American Express, right? It was just a bill for his business. He said that he did payroll last year, $900,000, and he showed it to me right on his phone, right? There's something going on in Black America right now, and I call it Black America, the hood, the trenches, wherever. It's called a PPP loans, right? The reason why me and Blue are saying that this is the Jubilee year is because out of nowhere, right, when no one was looking, that money and manna began to rain from the heavens. During the pandemic, Black America, Nigga USA, Ghettosville USA, because it was really them, got paid out the Bahudi, right? They got paid, and they're still getting paid. The impetus to do big commerce has already occurred. You have to, let's keep this in mind, from 10 racks up into $1 and change, people are cashing out. The payment, the loans that are taking place, there's a few checks flying around with Trump.
Yeah, no, there's a lot. There's a lot of checks.
There's a lot
of checks.
So Moors who created LLCs came
You don't even need an LLC. You don't even need an LLC.
No, I'm just saying there's one check with the LLC. There's dudes out there that's getting it on a social. They came up.
Right.
So there's no direction though in the hood. Nobody stepped up and presented a plan to bring these parties together who now have the income. Forget about credit, they got the cash.
Right.
They could create, we could buy. So this is my plea to veggie back up what you were saying, that I'm calling out the entrepreneurs, the brothers who are the brothers and the sisters who were benefactors off of that program that is equivalent to a jubilee, because a jubilee is of the forgiving of the debts. The jubilee year that all of the quote unquote slaves were jubilant and waiting for, and those people who adhered to the biblical narrative and whatnot, that was the year of the come up. So people have come up who didn't even know that they was going to come up.
Right.
It came out of nowhere in the middle of a pandemic. People have gotten off of their socials, y'all. So I'm seeing this as something that the Moors was speaking of, and with our good brothers who were teaching about the paperwork and how you could take your social and do this and do that. Well, on a mundane level, right? In a Malkuf kind of way, it has happened. You understand?
Right.
Without piles of paperwork. This is I'm talking about. I've seen people hit in 3 days.
Yeah, no. I mean, listen, man. Hey, listen. Hey, And Elamir, you're not gonna talk a little bit when we get off this day, because there's a lot of money floating around. Here's one of the things too. Here's one of the things about that. See, right now we're going through a global reset economically,
Right.
globally too. So everybody's getting these checks, whether it's countries, African countries and Caribbean countries, they're getting checks as countries, you're getting checks as individuals, you're getting checks as business. And this is because they're phasing cash out. And when they was first going to do the bailout or the stimulus, the Democrats came with the digital dollar, okay, where they was going to do a Bitcoin version of the U.S. dollar. You see, they call it the digital dollar, and the World Bank and all of them already are on it. So now what you see is you got banks. I mean, excuse me, you got places like Walmart and stores saying that they're not going to give you back any change.
No change.
Because the Federal Reserve is not shipping, they're not sending no more change out.
Facts.
So if you don't have the exact cash, you got to pay with your card, because they're going to move to a cashless society. And we already know the fiat in the context of what the money is. It's not real. They was printing it up anyway. So right now they're giving money away so that now people have money in this new system to start with. You see? So that nobody can say, oh, I didn't get no money. You see what I'm saying? And because they want all the money to be digital, now they're giving you debit cards as well. They mailing the stimulus out in the form of debit cards. And if you're getting a check for your business, they're gonna send it directly to your bank account.
Direct deposit.
You see what I'm saying? Direct deposit.
Cash
and this
App
is
the disruptor. I'm sorry to cut your wisdom.
No, you good.
That would be the quote unquote. That's the bridge that was finally built for all of us to cross over. It's starting with Cash App. They were the ones who broke the mold. I don't really want to even touch money. I don't really have money in my wallet anymore. I don't want to touch it. I'm not impressed by holding it. I just got my Cash App. I'm cool with pointing my phone at things.
Right.
It's already phased out.
It's already phased out.
On Cash App. I'm buying. I set my thing automatically to buy Bitcoin every week. Right. And I'm buying a Ripple and a whole bunch of other things on a penny, on a dollar. You know, some days you just get bored. You might read an article about a stock and you just hop on it.
That's right.
All digital. Right. It's all going like this. There's no more of that transaction where you send $1,000 to Canada. You gotta wait a day and all that.
Right. And see, another thing, a reason they're doing all of this too, is so that they can stomp out the black market once and for all, so that you can't buy and trade unless it's on the books.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So it's a lot of plays. There's a lot of plays involved, but this is definitely the time that people would be wise to get them some of that money. It's a lot of the money. They're not going to stop getting. They're about to come with another stimulus, and they're about to give more money, and they're about to do this universal basic income thing. So you can't stop change. When change is coming, you have to embrace it and adapt. Because it's going to be new winners and new losers. You see what I'm saying? And nobody will be able to claim that they didn't have any money to start in this new system.
It's like when you play Monopoly and they reset it and give everybody that bankroll to start with. And it's
there you go.
After that. The question that I asked that I remember now, it came back to me, was, so you're saying that if we were to know a quote unquote sovereign queen in Africa, we could begin the process of knocking on some doors, correct?
Yeah, I mean, whether it's a queen, whether it's a king, whether it's a president.
Indeed. Yep. So and this is the suck part of the whole thing. And this is where another conversation has to come in. If we were to even want to go and get on a plane to serve these papers, because we have a United States of America passport, do you know we can't go anywhere right now?
Oh yeah, I'm very well aware of that. You know that you can't
trash. You cannot leave America, and really, you there's like 5 places that we could go right now as America.
Yeah. Europe banned the US too.
Huh?
I mean,
Europe even banned the US.
Europe banned the US. I can't go to the UK. I can't go to Africa. I got brothers that went to Africa Nova Felder, Yao, my brother Nana Yao, another brother Rashad McCory. He done went viral. They got stuck in Africa in February.
Yeah, that's right.
They won't let him back in. Infudici
Mm.
had to go to the embassy to get back.
Wow. Well, see, that's another thing, and that's what Brother Ilamir was talking about earlier about the U.S. citizenship being a tool of burden to a degree when it comes to us freely, unrestrictedly doing business with each other, because that's another way he's able to middleman us by having us have individual allegiance to it. You see what I'm saying? And that's another thing, a dialogue that has to happen as well in terms of how we interact with our African brothers and sisters and our Caribbean brothers and sisters, because when it comes to us, we got to drop this whole shtick of, you know, you're an American or you're this or you're that. Because number one, here's an interesting thing. For those of us who was trafficked, the ones that was trafficked were the actual builders. This is why West Africa and Africa had declined and hadn't been nothing until recently, and why America's been so prosperous, because the people who made Africa pop in the first place is over here making America pop. You know what I'm saying? So they owe us some stuff, and then actually the kings of Africa had got together already and said, listen, you know, we sorry for this is recently. I ain't talking about the old stuff they did.
Yeah.
They got together, they said, yeah, we messed up. We messed up with slavery, and we want to make it right.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So we gotta go get our piece from them.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying too.
Uncut Gems. Yeah.
Yeah.
Flash
See, it's easy.
Sickle.
Right. Yeah, that's a good movie. Good movie. Great movie.
Yeah.
And I think that the basis of this, man, is that we have to build alliances, because if we was getting our raw materials from Africa, you understand. And then when you look at the technology in the United States, our people made all the technological advancements, whether it's GPS, whether it's the chip, whether it's the cell phone, whether it's the computer, whatever you name it.
Look, this is a Moorish game that we should all play. This could even be turned into what is known as gamification. It could be created as an app. Let's play Indian Giver. Let's play a game of Indian Giver, right? If you had the testicular fortitude as a people to play the game of Indian Giver rather than, and Blue Pill, please help me with this. I'm hearing through the grapevines that there's a Nick Cannon apology letter. I hope not.
It is.
Hey,
I saw something on Mr. Boyce Watkins' page that I swore was a spoof. I said, was this coming from the Onion? Don't tell me that you wrote that.
See? That's what I say about these people, man.
Don't tell me that you wrote that.
Let's be clear. He is corporally entangled.
Entangled, fact.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Nick's letter apologizing. Is that's what you're saying?
Yes.
Really?
Blue Pill, I'm gonna need you to read the apology. Let's see how entangled he is before this is over. But I'm going.
Wow. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but wow.
I went on his Instagram page. It was 2 posts, and he unfollowed the world. Right? He unfollowed the world. He said that he was sorry, and he called the Jewish community great people. Right? So going back to what I was saying, instead of doing that, you play the game of Indian Giver. You don't apologize. You say, you offended me. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to have to take back peanut butter and all of its products. And then while we're at it, while you guys are inside of your Teslas, let's take the traffic lights. Come on. Okay?
Right.
Get the radiator.
Yep.
Get the steamroller. And while you're
all
at it, trying to get those Charlie Angel bangs, give me the hot iron. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
And then we could begin to extract knives and forks, because we're going to do retroactively 7-Eleven up into today. We're playing Indian. We're not just going to play Indian Giver. Let's play Almoravid Moroccan Giver. Let's play, you know what I'm saying? Let's take it all back. Take back the leather shirts. Take back kilts. take back those
Yep.
baths in Europe. You know what I'm talking about? Take back
All
San
that.
Chicletas. Yeah, and then where will they be?
Right.
That's how you exert influence over people who are shaming us and have a mental. They have this mental type of inquisition on our subconsciousness to whereas no matter how much information you pour into the people, no matter how much light you shine on the people, no matter how many times you give them these quote unquote pills, red pills to wake up, they still have an inferiority complex winced in the company or in the circumference of these people. It's like everything that we teach them goes right out the window and they go right into subservient mode. Viola Davis, the help. That's
Yeah.
what they fall into.
You know, she apologized for that, right? You know,
She
she
better
said,
had.
you heard what she said about that role, right?
That's right.
She apologized that she ever took that role because you know, it demeaned what it meant to, you know, for black people and her people, and you know, it's a bad look. You know what I'm saying? But see, this is my point about chasing the bag. See, there's nothing wrong. You understand when you come into this Moorish knowledge, you understand that money, bread, you know, wealth, resources, that's in our DNA to want and have those things. You know what I mean? But see, the problem is when you are dealing with working towards liberation and enlightening people, you know, you already sold your soul, man. You already sold it. You already said you already put a dollar amount to your value. You see what I'm saying? So these people, I don't feel sorry for Nick. You know what I'm saying? And I expected him to apologize, and he should apologize if he wants to remain a millionaire. Because the whole point is that when you want to hurt somebody, you hit them in the pockets. And I tell people this all the time. Watch how you make your money. Because if you make your money by somebody putting you on, that person could take you off. And that's all these black celebrities have done, was they tied themselves, they entangled themselves for the money because they wanted to. And when you look at what we all want to live good, don't get me wrong. But when you look at what the money goes to live that so-called quality of life, what ends up happening is that money goes to the European luxury companies. You see, like, the funny thing is people don't even know where fashion comes from. The fashion runway as a thing literally comes from the fact that when they took over the Moorish castles and they expelled the Moors out of Europe, they took their belongings and wore it and paraded it down the street, and people walked and lined up to say, oh, wow, this is all the stuff the Moors had. That's literally where the fashion industry comes from.
Wearing our drip.
That's it.
They were on the battlefield when we lost the battles. They were stripping us. They said it took 3 days for them to fully strip us of all of our wealth and our clothes because we would go to war. We had our jewelry. We had a lot of our riches on us and whatnot. We was banging with our drip on, and and yes, like you said, when they put themselves, the emperor has no clothes. When they put themselves in our divine threads and our fabrics and whatnot. You know what I'm talking about? That's where they got into trying to tailor themselves to
Yep.
fit.
Yep.
So
And that's where the fashion industry comes from. That's where the fashion runway comes from.
So my thing is this. If they broke that man and forced him to apologize, I mean, I hear what everybody's saying about he's entangled. Look, let's think about the nature of a predator. If they smell fear on you, there's no such, you cannot apologize. They're gonna perforate that man. They're gonna dog walk him in front of us. They're going to put him on a whipping post, and we're gonna have to sit back and watch this thing. And at the end of the day, I'm not making no excuses, and I'm not co-signing that, and I'm not saying we standing with Nick. I'm not standing for that.
That's right.
Say what you say, and you stand on it. If Francis Cress Wilson gave them the science, you stand on that science. Minister Farrakhan says, stand on what you know. That's what he said. And if them people cut you off, like Shyam said, if they put you on, they could cut you off. But you got to get off of the titty someday. You know what I'm talking about? If you ride in the wave of these conscious people, you want to walk in Sabi's shoes, you want to walk in the thought leader's shoes, you say that you be a leader, you got to take a pay cut if it comes.
That's right.
Because if
That's what we did.
have trust in the people, if the people told him, "Fam, we got you. You good. Relax."
Yeah, but he wanted that Jew money though. That's why. See,
So
we all of us on here took a pay cut. Each one of us on this line could have been doing something in the system that would have given us millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. We just chose not to. So I'm not gonna feel sorry for the Negroes who chose to, because if you notice, everybody who said, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna go for that bag with Whitey," what's happening to them?
oh, they getting the short end of the stick. Why? Because ultimately, this is a spiritual war. It is taking away the illusion. It's 2020. This is about clear vision. The influence that the influencers had is no longer. Remember, this is a faith-based system. Niggas don't got faith in them no more. They lost their appeal. They do not have the stickiness that they once had. They are not even being watched. People are not even paying them attention. Meg the Stallion got shot. Okay, the Migos are leaving QC. Okay, the Migos got ripped off. Little Baby ran them off the label. What are you talking about? The whole thing is falling apart.
That's right.
Diddy is out here, you know.
Come on, talk to him. Talk to him.
Take that. You know what I'm saying? He's out here propagating, false flagging, and they are utilizing, they're doing everything Malcolm X told you to watch out for when he was alive, before he got triple crossed. You understand? Right. He was telling you the celebrities, those woke people who try to slide in through the side door and speak.
That's right.
That's not us. You understand? Right. That's not us. They're obligated, they're contracted, and their tongues are owned. If somebody finds you for 10 million, you owe 10 million plus interest. They know within a contract that they got you. They own your likeness. Look at the whole Easy E thing where his daughter talked about they couldn't even get a penny off of his quote unquote catalog. The reason why I look at Nick Cannon and I say I don't necessarily agree with that and I can't stand behind that is because what about Ice Cube?
There you go.
If you mean to tell
Ice Cube been talking reckless lately.
Yeah,
you talking reckless.
You mean to tell me he's not entangled, he's not embroiled, he's not caught up? But the reason why Ice Cube could stand on what he's standing on, the reason why they would look like complete hypocrites is because Ice Cube came into the industry busting his gun like that. That's what we know him for. And then he went and did Hollywood. So he could be called the spook who sat by the door versus somebody who did not come to us like this. He came to us the way that he came to us. Then he reappeared, rebranded himself, and now when the fire gets turned up, right? When you get the pressure that individuals been having on their neck, been having on their backs, they've been going through that.
That's right. That's right.
And it's like, yo, I don't want to play no more. You know
and then also he's so wilding out to Viacom.
The same Viacom that we knew was exploiting us with BET, with VH1, with MTV, with all of the shows that they be doing, because Viacom is the parent of reality TV, because Flavor of Love, hence remember, Flavor of Love, because he had the only surviving member of Public Enemy that's worth listening to is Professor Griff. And the reason why, when Professor Griff is the red flag. So the minute they saw Professor Griff, who blackballed from media control platforms, and the media control platforms are the new woke podcasts.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Where they talk about a bunch of nothing and they never get down to anything, any actionable items.
So that grew from Taxstone. Taxstone broke the mold of the celebrity podcast, the street podcast / that's a Taxstone creation. Right. They ran with his model and then they commercialized it. The woke, and I said it before, woke is a marketplace. That's nothing to take away from anybody who's out there jugging and whatnot. Woke is not even a movement. It's a marketplace. It's where you go to sell things. It's where you go to sell books. It's where you go to sell courses. It's where you go to sell sneakers and clothes and all things that are dealing with this culture. It's a marketplace. And individuals like Jamel Hill, Moise Lamont Hill, look at all the hills. You know what I mean? Kaepernick, Jay-Z and Beyonce with Blackest
Talk to
King.
him.
You know what I mean?
Talk to him.
He cut his teeth with Trayvon Martin. He cut his teeth with him and Harvey Weinstein. Cut their teeth with Khalif Browder and Trayvon Martin because that was the two documentaries that gave Jay-Z the social justice warrior badge.
Right. That's a fact. That's a fact.
But he came in to consciousness or wokeness on Trayvon and Khalif Browder, but he came in with Harvey Weinstein. What's rocking with that?
Right.
What's rocking with that?
One thing I'll say is the interesting thing about all of that is the fact that you have these see, there's nowhere to go. See, and this is what I was saying about what it was 10 years ago. You see what I'm saying? Oh yeah. So the 10 years ago, we was getting ready for a mass awakening on a different level. And the energy got siphoned off into, I understand woke is a marketplace, and that's great. But I saw it back then, that what we were doing, what us four in particular and other people that was in that space was doing, I was like, man, if we don't unionize this thing, the celebrities are going to take it and be the face of it because they had no new material. There was no new material.
None. They were done.
And then they came to look at what we all were doing.
Remember Exposed DVD. I don't want to cut your wisdom, but I have this thing about exposed versus exposure. If you expose something, you got to destroy it. You got to take it down. You got to put hands and feet on it if need be. It's something it has to be brought to justice. You have to topple that statue. When you saw all of these exposed DVDs, it was only exposure. It didn't do anything but expose. It gave you the exposure. There was people that was like, "Where do I sign up to the Illuminati? I'll sleep with a goat. I want to get on."
Right.
Yo, no, I saw that. I saw that heavy around it back in those days. Yeah, you're right.
And then and then when Baby came out, remember when Baby was signing Young Thug and all of the Thug purchases, and they were like, "Yo, I'm out here giving top for a record deal." You know what I'm saying? Whatever they wanted me to do, I did it. You know what I mean? And then they infiltrated it because they start signing babies, right? Little babies, like little Keith Chief when he was a little baby.
Right.
They in 2012 they changed the whole industry to a 17-year-old mind state, right? Real music, turn up music, trap rap, dope music, pill popping music, bando music. They reset it to whereas the only one out of that thing was Joey Badass, the Underachievers, Flatbush Zombie. That was the last hope in pro era when Capital Steez either got killed or died. That whole thing went, and then when Lamborghini died, it went. That whole thing evaporated.
Right.
And now we here.
Right. Well, we know that they control our people through music. You see? And we know that the prison industrial complex is heavily invested in the record labels and vice versa.
Because of the owners, because of the same owners that made Nick apologize at night, Nick at night.
Absolutely.
Right. They have because those same people, remember, Israel is where the police forces get trained in the techniques and how to be more brutal, and that's where the militarization aspect is coming from. Then you got Black Cube, which is spy agency of Mossad that was working with Jeff Epstein and other extorters and racketeers to blackmail black artists. They were not only blackmailed, they were blackmailing the women who Harvey Weinstein was doing heinous crimes to. The men that Harvey Weinstein and them were flipping. Jeff Epstein was on his island with John Legend and them. Talk black to me, right?
Now, hey, you know, I don't mean to cut your wisdom, but just to point it out, I seen a post on the screen where brother said that they did the same thing to Snoop. So remember, Susan Rice, came out.
Yes,
and she's one of the candidates for VP.
For VP, that's right. She cut it. Remember, and then where did they funnel Snoop through for the apology?
For the red table talk.
Exactly. So he when he went after Gail, they activated the quote unquote archons, right?
Right.
They activated the highest level of bules, and then what did they do? Because is what Rick is what Chris Rock said. It's a war between the blacks and the niggas,
That's a
right?
fact.
The niggas are the perceived threats. The niggas are the expendables. The niggas are supposed to be lined up, right? There's a line that's going to be drawn where the niggas are not pro LBGT. They're not with the vaccination. They're not. They're not chilling with Nick at night. They're not. You know what I mean? They're not
They're
being
not
followed.
hanging with D Wade. You see
Yeah,
how
Nick
fast D
Cannon.
Wade backtracked on his
Yeah,
comment
Nick
of
Cannon.
support?
If Nick Cannon ain't follow you, if Terry Crews not following you, and if D
Right.
Wade and Zaire, what is his name, Zaza,
Yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
they not following you, then you're not gonna be. If Charlemagne, if they be like, "Yo, Charlemagne, is he good?" Charlemagne's like, "Nah, he's
Yeah.
a
Oh, yeah.
scrub,
They're grooming. He's
scrub."
being groomed to be the head Negro in charge. And I
Charlemagne.
saw something deep. Yeah, I saw something deep on the show where they had Martin Shkreli on there. And Martin Shkreli, he said to Martin Shkreli that he's a member or that he's a part of this hedge fund. He has his money invested in this hedge fund. I want to say Bain Capital, but it may not. It may be Bridge Capital. Don't quote me on that. But y'all can go back and watch that show. It's up there. And Martin Shkreli, who's a Jew, mind
Yeah,
you know, so you know he's connected. He said he was like, huh, you're part of that group? Like I couldn't even get in there.
that's
So that's when I knew.
exactly.
That's when I knew. Oh, okay, this guy. They want him to be. They want him to be the HNIC. You know,
When you
because
That's right, that's your reward, right?
right.
Because keep in mind when you see the Forbes list, and there'll be people who you know were performing all year, and they on the top of the list. But then you'll see somebody on the list like Big Sean or one of them. You're like, what the hell? Remember, they have financial investors. All of their finances are invested in all things Israeli, right?
Hmm.
That is all thing Israeli. Everything that's going on, they have them embroiled in a line with Lockheed Martin,
Hmm.
prison complex industry, with all of the companies that support LBGT rights. You know,
Right.
they bundle them. They take their money and then they put them into all of these things. Henceforth, why none of the thought leaders could get a big bump from any of the celebrities like that, like that. Nobody is coming to drop 100 racks, 50 racks. They watch all of our videos. They
Yep.
wear all of our cloth. You know what I'm talking about? They out here swagger jack. They taking all of the lingo.
This is where they come to get the pieces. They
Yes,
come.
they getting 3 cuts in the eyebrows. They jacking our slang, but because of their remember the woke and the conscious, you cannot exist in the same place at once.
That's
If
right.
they introduce you, you cancel out them to their followers. They cannot act like they know you. They can't take pictures with you because
Right.
if they did that, they couldn't steal your cloth anymore. They can't
Right.
they can't perpetuate your ideas. They
Right.
can't they can't necessarily put your intellectual property in their books and whatnot.
Right.
So they have this cognitive dissonance. Like, nah, I never heard of Dr. Sabi. Who's that?
Hmm. Yeah, and then when they were talking to Nick Cannon about, you know, he talked about, yeah, you know, Moorish sovereignty. He didn't say, he said a whole bunch of nothing. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you know, what are you doing here? You're drafting from a place so that you can become that guy
There's trigger
who's
word.
exactly like there was a celebrity, I won't say his name, but he was trying to pretty much, you know, reach out to us, and I knew it from the rip. I'm like, okay, this guy, he really just wants to get the flow so he can be the representative of it. It's not to assist us in our movement. It's not to assist us and that's why we pretty much stay away from that stuff because we just serious about the liberation, man. You know, and you can't, when you're on this side of the track, you can't be compromised. You see what I'm saying? And those Negroes' biggest mistake is that they didn't have the heart to do it on their own. They just didn't.
Exactly. I
Mm-hmm.
saw
Because they wanted to pull up on you and I and say, look, I got the bag from Whitey and I'm better than you. That's the only reason they did it.
and now in 2020 going
That's why Nick
forward.
apologizing.
That's right.
Exactly.
The new litmus test is gonna be you have to denounce Farrakhan in
Yep.
public. You have to denounce anything that's going to challenge. If you not chilling with the Israelis and you with the Israelites,
Mm-hmm.
or if you acknowledge a Jew and not the Jewish,
Right.
oh no, you can't sit with us.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about? You can't
Absolutely.
sit with us. You can't sit on the yacht with us and eat, little children. You know what I'm talking about? You can't
Right.
be with John Legend and his wife
Yeah.
party.
Yo, yo.
Like people, and I'm just saying, this is the carrot that they dangling in front of these retards. Like, are
Now
you
that's a fact. That's a
And you
fact.
gotta go. You gotta go to Israel. You gotta go to Tel Aviv, which is LBGT Castle Grayskull, right? That's where
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about. That's the headquarters of that thing right there. You gotta go there.
They're the ones who created the porn industry too.
That's exactly. So you're gonna have to go to San Fernando Valley as well, but they want you to go chill in Tel Aviv for a week with no phone, right? And then come back home and just get back to the business. And my whole thing is this: in a day and age where Wayfair is being exposed, child trafficking is being exposed,
Right.
sex trafficking through the porn industry is being exposed, the aspect of some kind of cannibalism taking place is being exposed. I have an article where somebody interviewed vampires in New Orleans, and they were like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yeah, we've been here for centuries. You know what I'm talking about? We feed
Mm.
off for the people's energy, and we drink blood. You know what I mean?
Right.
I got the
Right.
article.
Yeah. No. I know that. I know that stuff's
So
real, man.
everything is being revealed when people realize, when they do the research on what Epstein was doing, Weinstein is doing, Gates and Fauci, is always going to come back to the same people who was cutting their checks. It's going to be a classic episode of Scooby Doo. They're going to pull
Yep.
the hood off, and it's going to be a white boyfriend.
That's a fact.
So
That's
it's
a
like
fact.
it's gonna be the dude that Nick Cannon was like, that's my partner. Incredible. It's gonna be him underneath
Right.
the robe. You
And
know,
that's what I'm saying. And they hide behind these things of they hide behind these premises that, oh, I gave a lot of black people jobs and I made it so they was able to feed their family. Nonsense, man. You could have did all of that without selling your soul. You see what I'm saying?
you understand?
And the bottom line is these celebrities are being exposed, especially the black ones, because they're at the bottom rung of the whole social order. And what people are realizing now is that y'all did all of this stuff so that you can be a cannibal, so that you can be a pedophile, so that you can be a part of this elite club that's of wickedness and just draconian behavior. You see what I'm saying?
You could have
So
been lit broke smoking K2. You know what I mean? With a
right.
cash app shorty. Like you had to do all of that to wind up, in an orgy with Barbara Bush. You know what I'm saying? Like you did
It's
you did all
crazy,
of that,
man.
with Harvey Weinstein and his clam chowder. Like, come on.
So it's very ridiculous, man. That's why, and that's essentially why when we talk about the discussion of reparations, why we have to have the discussion of who is the leadership. Like you can't. Our people are too enamored with celebrity culture, and like you said, it's dead now. Because what happened with this whole pandemic thing, we are able to see that the celebrities are nobody special. You got dudes with, their grays is showing. You know what I'm saying? They look as scruffy. You know what I mean? You're seeing the real person, and they don't have a choice but to be on the gram because they gotta keep their following. They have
Yeah.
to stay engaged because
They're
there's no
addicted.
shows.
They're addicted to that dopamine. The
There
gram
you
got
go.
them the gram got their veins the same way it got other people, or Snapchat, or TikTok. One of them got, or Twitter. There's so many
Right.
Twitter fingers. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Terry Crews can't stay off of Twitter.
No, you can't. But yeah,
So
man. Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
a plus for those of us who are standing on our squares. We're gonna replace the music with real music. We're gonna replace celebrity with actual
With
factual,
nobility. With
with
nobility.
nobility. There's no more celebrity. There's nobility. There's
Right.
brothers and sisters that
Because
are.
that's where celebrity comes from.
That's
See,
exactly.
back in those days, the nobles, those in the noble class, would be the ones who were revered because
And
they
then
did noble deeds.
that's right. And then who came along? The troubadours,
Yep.
the court jesters and whatnot.
Yep.
So theoretically, what we're enamored by and what we're looking at in these days and times are really just the troubadours. These are the
Yep.
dancers. These
That's
were
right.
the court jesters. These were the
That's
people
right.
who did what? Remember Strange Fruit when Billie Holiday had to stand up there and sing about niggas that were entertaining white folk while niggas was hanging, right?
Mm.
That was an expression of what the troubadours were doing. They were still the troubadours were performing while Moore's heads were on pikes, right? In order
That's a fact.
to was still trying to stay alive.
That's a
So
fact.
that's who the pantheon of what BET has given us. That's the Viacom babies.
Right.
Anybody who worked for Viacom and did not boycott them today and did not speak about them and did not stand up against them, we already know what we're dealing with.
That's
So
a fact.
it's gonna have to come a day and a time when we have these militia organizations, when we are able to vote in proper leadership. Those who are true sovereigns, who did the legwork, who did the work, who could show that they're not attached to no contracts.
Absolutely.
I saw one of my shifter brothers post a receipt that he made $3 million just on an online course from January to this day. He's not doing that with nobody. He's not signed to no corporation. He's not contracted to no European like that.
Well, you know, the interesting thing about that, my brother, is that Silicon Valley said that their main goal was to destroy Hollywood. So they created technology that empowers because you got to remember, that's the nerds. And the nerds in Hollywood, that's the cool kids.
Yeah.
See? So it's Revenge of the Nerds. Remember the movie?
Nerds, yes, and the Blurs.
Yeah, you see?
And they both got Jewish undertones behind.
Undertones. So
Hollywood run by the Jews, Silicon Valley run by the Jews. So you got the Jewish nerds going against the other Jews.
Exactly.
That's right. That's right.
But they created the technology to make it so Hollywood is dead.
Well, Hollywood created the technology to disrupt the Nickelodeon and other things. Hollywood disrupted Thomas Edison.
It's
Hollywood
wars.
Huh?
Corporate wars.
That's a fact.
Culture wars, corporate wars, and trade wars.
That's
and
it.
We have to form. I have a lecture coming up next Thursday. I don't want to do a shameless plug, but
no, do your thing.
This is about teaching. It's called the Conscious Industry, right? The Conscious Industry 2020. And it's going to speak about the new industry that we are all in. You dig what I'm saying? Because we are currently in a new industry. This is Industry 4.0, but we belong to a conscious industry. I went to Houston, Texas, right before George Floyd got killed on Monday. I did this on the 24th, Sunday, from brick and mortar to click and order, right in George Floyd, right in the 3rd Ward, right where he's from. And Houston is the energy capital of the world. I know y'all know that. That's the energy capital of the world. And I said, I'm going to go wake up the grid and we are going to go speak to the energy capital of the world to turn the energy on. And the energy is on, y'all. Don't miss out on the opportunities that are not it's awaiting, it's in the now. It's going down right now. Bitcoin, blockchain, crypto, Forex, loans, you name it, anything conscious. You know what I'm talking about? CMOS is a cartel right now. How about it?
Yeah, he was telling me that.
I don't want to pull my pounds out. I got pounds. I don't want to fit nobody. Blue pillars, El Chop, blue pillars, Pablo. Blue pillars, where you at?
He's been on that CMOS since way back, since 2010, 2009 and all that.
Blue pill? Yo, the Susu is popping. Whoever wants to get, I can't invite anybody into the Susu because, you know, you got to trust people.
Yeah, facts.
But if you got 5 people that you trust, you're the mother of your children or your wife or the homies and whatnot, you need to tap in to Stream Chasers. I'm gonna throw it up right here. Please, I'm begging you, get down with our Susus. Get this money. You don't have to ask permission. The government told you is hands off at this point. They said we don't know what to do with y'all. We don't have a vaccination. We don't got a cure.
Yep.
We think that the mask might work, but like I put a meme up, if you could blow one, if you could rip one, and it could make it through your boxes, and them tight
Right.
ass jean niggas be wearing them
Yeah.
to be hugging you, then a cough and a virus could sneak through that mask. Let's stop playing.
Indeed.
People
Hey.
they sagging with their mask in New York. They have masks like the jeans used to be. You know how they used to sag?
Yeah.
The
Right.
masks are even sagging. Talk like,
Right.
yeah, what happened?
Nah, I'm just gonna say, you know, definitely, man. And hey, y'all make sure y'all check out MurakushSociety.org. You know what I'm saying? All of the history that y'all need. That if you're interested in Moorish history, we created a historical site that just has all of the historical data that's relative and necessary to understanding the Moorish identity. And it'll be great for your research or study if you want to know more. If you want to take that knowledge that you learned, appreciate it, good brothers, appreciate it. If y'all want to take that knowledge that you learned and start applying it in a legal fashion, in a legitimate fashion, go to MurakushLawFirm.com and go to our case studies. And we have tons and tons of cases that the brother Amin posted that could break down every aspect that you need to know how to utilize your Moorish identity and to get remedy for whatever problems you may have. Okay. You know, go to FromSlavesToKings.com. I recently published a book last year that is designed specifically for the brothers. Sisters can get it too, of course, but you know, the brothers, they have to be restored. And that book is designed to, if you don't have a game plan or know what your life is about in this time period, get that book. You know, it breaks everything down from A to Z. It gives you a plan, a blueprint, and some guides on how to, you know, get your thing together. So, you know, as you can see, man, the brothers on the line here, man, we all industrious. You don't see us begging, you know, whatever it is we getting it off the muscle. You know what I'm saying? We're getting it off the muscle.
Off the straight muscle, off the intellectual property, off the tippy top of the brain, like how we used to do, right?
That's a fact.
Intellectual property, the Moors, illustrious and industrious, traveling the 7 seas and trading. What? Trading goods.
That's
because
right.
Man make the money, money don't make us, right?
That's
and man make clothes and clothes don't make us. So I cannot wait to travel around. I want y'all to come to the UK with us. I want to invite you.
Yeah, man. We got to reinvigorate this thing. We made history together, man.
That's right. And we got to continue to make it. When me and Blue went out there, we said uniting the kingdoms. And then the concept, this was right around the time with a rhetoric, right? Yeah. And I got the ebook too. I got the ebook. Let me pull up my PDF.
Appreciate that, brothers. Appreciate that.
When we went to the United Kingdom, we had the premonition. We had an awakening, and we created what is known as Four Corners. Blue Pill was the editor of Four Corners newspaper, but our initiative is the Four Corners Initiative. The United Kingdoms, because if you ever visit the United Kingdom, anybody out there, you know that it's kingdoms over there, and they're united. Africa, the Caribbean is united over there with the brothers and sisters that are from Europe. You have the United Kingdom, that's one corner of the planet. You have the Caribbean. I'm talking about all over the Caribbean. That's another corner of the planet. You have America, the United States of America, and then you have the continent of Africa. Once you bring those four, the Americas, I'm sorry, South America, Central America, North America, because Brazil is lit right now. In case anyone did not know, they are rising up in their consciousness.
I seen.
My thing, because we are all able to measure, engage, conversation, and narrative. The Moorish conversation has not reached the shores yet. The Ados are the ship that's going to bring that ship to the shore. Once we dock, once we moor our ship, that's when the nationality in the Moorish conversation, reparations is a ship, right?
That's right.
So if you paying attention to popular culture or anything, you know in any minute now, a Diddy, a Jay-Z, one of the influencers, one of the people who create what are known as hot button topics, because unfortunately they're attached to the culture, and the way that the culture gauges on how this thing moves
That's a fact.
based
That's a
off of
fact.
how these quote unquote, which one of their influencers or which one of the people who they worship, which one of their celebrity stars initiate by co-signing the narrative that they've been hearing on the underground.
That's
That
right.
nationality, Moorish conversation, civilitaire mortus, that we're not really black, that's coming.
Mm, mm,
You can
mm.
hear it in the you could feel
Yeah,
it in
you
the
can feel the rumblings. You can feel the
that's that
rumblings.
Saharan dust. That's that
I
water that
mean, you seen T.I. on the national stage,
That's
so
right.
T.I.
right? T.I. he played with it.
yeah, he played with it. And
Well,
then he even
it's actually they actually talking about it over there in Morocco right now.
Mm.
It's real heavy right now. There's some hurt feelings over there right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We got a debate coming up. They keep dropping out of the debate. You got the you got pretty much French descendants of French people born in
French,
North Africa
Portuguese,
trying to tell us
yeah,
that we still in their identity. So
yeah,
we want to have a show to break it down, and they agree, and then they'll back out. You see?
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they think they the indigenous people of North Africa.
Mm-mm.
You
Oh, of
know,
course. You're gonna
the descendants of the European slaves,
that's right.
the Christians that got taken captive and brought back to Africa, descendants now think that they are the indigenous Aboriginal people of North Africa.
And that's going on everywhere. That's going on all over the planet. You see them, supplant our identities, and act and portray as if they're the real deal. So you're right. There's a massive discussion that's on her, and it's actually, again, remember what we was talking about earlier, how we, was this big synergy back in the day in 2010 and the early 2000s.
Yes, sir.
Well, these different schools that we had, these different, schools of thought and different chambers that we had, it started to be unleashed. And the first person that was influenced by it was Kanye West. You see,
Yes, he was.
because I remember you used to rock with the Hey Ru symbol, and he
Mhm.
took that and put it on a Nike sneaker.
Yep, the Yeezy.
When he did Nas' last album, he started promoting Circle Seven
Got a merch
symbols.
bundle. That's facts. The
You
Moors.
see? Yep. So it's definitely bubbling, and this is one of those last chambers that has to be, entered. And you're right. It's definitely because it's something you can't ignore any longer. You can't keep pushing it to the side, because you know why? Like you said, it's so many brothers on the inside, brothers and sisters on the inside, that are using this knowledge to free themselves.
They're disrupting the quote unquote, they are being disruptors from within the system.
Mm.
And there is a concerted effort to stifle and censor unadulterated, is unchecked, it's unincorporated, because the corporations don't own it, they can't control the information. There's no regulation
Right.
for
Right.
the high level of information is flowing, and people are questioning things. You locked up. You're not scared to go against these people.
Exactly.
You already down.
You're already down.
You already been sentenced.
You ain't got nothing to lose.
You got nothing to lose. So salute to my warriors.
Yeah, you Bobadil.
You Bobadil. So salute to all of the brothers and sisters that are buried in shallow graves, who are clawing at the casket, kicking, like
right.
rainbow serpent in a rainbow,
Talk to
breaking
them.
through, from being buried alive. The Hiram Abiffs out there
That's
who
right.
are recognized. You like the episode of The Watchmen where they showed you how the black man Cal, he had a tachyon ring on his third eye that put him to sleep, but he was really a god walking Tulsa, Oklahoma, right?
Mm.
Imagine if Dr. Manhattan was able to wake up in Tulsa, knowing what happened in Tulsa, and knowing what he did in Vietnam to destroy the Vietnamese during the war. You know what I mean? So he would have he would have went like this. And just look what he did to the white supremacists once he woke up. The 7th Cavalry. He waved his hand and he was blowing them up. So that was the proverbial Hiram Abiff. That's the sleeping giant. So it's of my understanding, because I'm in the trenches. If the sleeping giant ain't wake up, I don't know who that is, right? I don't know who that is, but there's somebody in the hood roaring right now. They're making a lot of noise. They're shaking a lot of things off of them. They're asking a lot of questions, and they're angry. They're fed up, and they're on go, right? They're like, yo, what's popping? What we got to do? Because I've been asleep for too long, and we're in the quickening. So
that's right.
It's gonna happen like this.
That's right.
I feel like the Asheville, North Carolina thing is somewhat of a trickle. It could be a trickle effect. It could be a domino effect. Why? Because now we understand the power of the city council, and in a voting type of year, we understand that if you're going to initiate anything in your quote unquote municipality or your towns or whatnot, you're going to have to up in the city council, get your people in the city council, start there.
That's right.
You know,
that's right. Absolutely. No, I mean, yeah, man. Some interesting times are upon us, man, and all we can do is continue to play our part, because it's all working together for a grand scheme that is surely unveiling itself, you know. But if we all stay the course and everybody just tap into the realness, because this is where it's really happening at. Celebrity land, it's not happening. You know what's deep? I watched the comment from Masika. I think her name is Masika. You see? And she said that Nick was right, and that all you got to do is read From Babylon to Timbuktu, and she named another book and said her dad put her on to that information at 8 years old. So I'm like, you got regular thoughts walking around, understanding and knowing this stuff. But see, like one of my homies told me, he said, it's called real nigga limbo. You see? So you got, you know, they are awake, but they don't know what's next. They know what they was dealing with it ain't what it is, but they don't know what's next. So they in what he calls real nigga limbo.
Because real nigga limbo is a real place. Why? Because when they wake up, they're not integrating themselves into a true and living movement that has a reward system, a penalty system, and a value system, as well as rank and file.
That's right.
There's no elected officials. They need to see organized, not crime. They need to see organized nobility. So if they were to see a community that had a value system, meaning that these brothers are valued at billions of dollars. Why are they valued at that? Because they're infopreneurs. What does that mean? That means that their information is their intellectual property, and they live in a day and time where President Trump deemed skills over degrees. So the skills that they have in research, the skills that they have in debating, the skills that they have in writing books and being authors, the skills that they've proven, because in this new era of social value, you could be valuated. Your valuation is attributed to your social impact. So the social impact of social media in your society that you're in as a social entrepreneur. So how is Murakush Society social entrepreneurs? I'm glad that you asked. Here you go. Here's their paperwork. They have the Murakush Society that's being socially active. They are uplifting fallen humanity, and there's proof in it in their literature. Then they have From Slaves to Kings. There's nothing more honorable than that, because to uplift social humanity because the men have fell. So as a social entrepreneur, we're uplifting our men. We're regentrifying the temples of the quote unquote broken temples, that the pillars are broken. Then we have Murakush Law Firm, and we are doing what? We're providing freedom. We're freeing the slaves. In the realm of weighing us on a scale, this is the same thing like giving up credit, like Equifax in Union. This is the new credit system. So the new credit system in our communities is what? That we are worth billions of dollars because of our work.
That's right.
We're serial entrepreneurs, we're social entrepreneurs, and we're infopreneurs. socket to my pocket. And then the reward system is when we help a brother come home from jail, we're gonna be rewarded, not just with the keys to the city. You got it. We Moors, we nobles. So
Right.
reward us the way that we were rewarded back in the days,
That's
right?
right.
Give us some land, give us
That's
an
right.
estate, give us
That's right.
something, give us a gold mine or something, give us something tangible, and then the penalty system. Oh, there's people out here, there's dirty Moors that are out here getting people. Oh, there's people out here robbing people. Or there's people out here molesting people. Or there's people out here, clout chasing. Oh, there's a penalty system. We're gonna put a penalty, and we're gonna send the sheriffs after them, and the muftis to clean them up.
That's
And
right.
there's a no-fly zone. So if you book them for a lecture and they pop up at the lecture, there will be no more lectures. How about
That's
that?
right.
You know what I'm talking about? So there, and then we got your IPN address. So you can play around in your mama's basement, but we will extract you, you know what I mean, from your mama's basement, and we'll rendition you and we'll take care of you, because if you're in our jurisdiction, you will fall underneath our laws.
That's
So
right.
when the people see something like that, then I'm sure that they will begin to recognize that this is not just a fly by night thing. This is not something that Charlemagne and the Breakfast Club is trying to put together. This is an actual movement. This is a movement that has lasted for hundreds of years. This is a continuum, right? Of something that the prophet put together, and Harboring of the prophet put together, and many other great men and women helped put together, and we are continuing. We're carrying on tradition. That's how I see it. So
Well, we had the 3 hour mark, so I definitely want to say thank you for this wealth of information. You know what I'm saying, and bringing it full circle again, being able to tap in after a decade strong of nothing but upright work. Can you leave the people with the contact information? And if you have anything that's coming up that they need to know about, please let them know.
that's for the Murakush. We're gonna let y'all do that first.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah, just keep up with the IG page. Follow us at Murakush Society. We actually in the background working on a Moorish documentary where we're gonna put all of this relevant information in film. Just so we can cut out some of the foolishness that's floating out there. That's pretty much causing confusion and reducing prosperity. Um, Other than that, we're gonna stay in contact with you, brothers. We been keeping up with y'all, almost going on almost 20 years now.
Ain't that crazy?
We
Feel like yesterday.
pushing that, so we always gonna stay up with y'all and keep y'all up to speed with what we got going on or whatever. You already know.
That's a super fact. And just for the record, the brothers were there for me, and when we were starting our LLCs, just to show how, what I mean, brothers in the community, we got to work with each other and utilize each other for our benefits. Because if we learn to trust each other within the circle and within our networks and, our collectives, we will never have to look outside of ourselves. You know what I mean? We'll be a self-contained movement. And I want to ask you before we end too, this is something that weighs heavy on my heart, and I'm trying to create solutions for it. What do we do about the ego that's stopping Moors from uniting and from living out those principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and things of that nature? Like, what can we do? Because I know the social media and other things create egos, but one of the killers of the Moorish movement is that they playing this pick one more over the other more. It's this type of, you know, what man you like, you know what I mean? And I find that to be wild suspect, you know what I mean? You got other men talking about what man they like. Like, I like him, you know what I mean? That's my guy. I love this man, and I'm only listening to him. He's better than you. and you're not like my guy, and I'm like, fam, that's not Moorish of you. That's real
Right.
Anglo. You know what I mean? That you're sounding like a Morisco right now. You know,
Right.
we dealt with the collective of the Moors. We dealt with when we were in Moorish Spain. It was a cosmopolitan. We were listening to Jews. We were listening to Moors now. We were listening to even our melanated brothers who were of the Christian faith. So I'm like, do you have any solution to that?
Yeah, I think in general that those who are, especially in 2020, especially in this time, and
This climate,
whatever happened in the past happened in the past, but especially at this moment in time, we have to be united. We have to go from this to this. And we have to, as leaders, whoever's a Moorish leader out there, and when I mean leader, that means someone who has a following, who has respect of a considerable amount of people as Moors, we have to set the standard in the tone for everybody else. It can't be the regular supporter or the supporter online. We can't allow them to cause divisions. We have ideological differences, of course. That's going to always be, that's going to always exist. We're humans, but we have a common problem, common enemy, and we have common solutions. And we need to come together and discuss how we can build on things. And that sets the tone, that sets the standards. And just saw a brother 50 Beats make a suggestion that says we all need to do a show together, stuff like that. We need to show more camaraderie. We need, and we have to also show the people that we can discuss things and agree to disagree.
facts.
Because I think that's what sets the standard, that's what sets the tone. And I think behind the scenes, and this is something we used to do back in the day, which I'm really grateful for. There used to be a behind the scenes. You could get together, the elders will come together and we'll talk about what we're trying to do, what we plan on doing, what works, what doesn't work, what your experiences was, what our experiences was. And we need to create that space and energy. And one thing I want to say too is that we live in a time now, and I like how you guys always stress the technology and using it, because we live at a time now where there's unprecedented access to each other. You know, our ancestors in slavery didn't have the internet. They didn't have an ability to link up across oceans and across rivers and across mountains to discuss and strategize. Let's be wise and let's be respectful and grateful to our ancestors for getting us to this point where we have these things available so that we can do more of the things we need to further liberate ourselves. And with that, I'll digress.
Indeed, my brothers. I just want to say thank you. You know, the audience. I'm sure that they've gained a wealth of information tonight. I encourage all of the students, the KTLians that are out there, even our first time listeners, to click on the links. You know, don't treat this as just, you know, a quick release and whatnot. Take the information and go down a rabbit hole and open up your minds to information that is vetted, it's been studied, it's been, you know, these brothers have been here for a minute, and carry it, you know what I mean? And do something with it. You feel me? And tap in. And if you're tapped into the right frequency, you'll be in alignment when moves are made, and when we relink back up and make the calling with our other brethrens. Because now that I got your word and I'm charged up, and I'm going to put certain things on my shoulders. I come forth with olive branches. You know, I got my Moorish haters out there. You know,
We got them too.
yeah, I'm talking about. But at the end of the day, like I see where the stagnation is stemming from. And there's a lot of behind the scenes backbiting. There's a lot of behind the scenes slander and libel and rumors there's a lot of toxicness. There's a lot of sick people in this movement to be, you know, to keep it a buck with you.
That's right.
And, you know, sometimes you got to shine a light on the sickness. You have to expose it. You know what I mean? Don't give it exposure, but you have to put it underneath a light. And when it's underneath that light, then it will begin to dissipate. And those who are really about what they say that they're about, they will show results. It doesn't, you know, we don't live in a lack anymore. We live in a day and time. If we say that we're going to do something, we could get up and do it right away. We have the ability and the freedom to do that. So there is no more waiting around. We living in the power of the now. So with that being said, on June the 25th, if you have the flyer uploaded, Blue Pill, please share it.
It ain't June.
I mean, July 25th in Atlanta, Georgia, Atlantis. Brother Blue Pill and AA Rashid are going to be doing a demonstration. Tell them, Blue.
Yeah, it's called Dark Matter Timing, Myths Decoded, right? So it's a lot of myths right now that are the topic of discussion. You know, we are going to we're gonna walk through it. We're gonna unpack it. You know what I'm saying? And speak about the importance of us establishing our own myth. There's no people on the planet who don't have a myth to guide their consciousness other than so-called melanated people or the Negro, black, and color here in America, right? They're the only ones without a myth to feed the psychology of their youth, in particular the men, the boys of the youth. So we're gonna demonstrate. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna definitely.
The 25th in ATL.
Yeah, the 25th. You know,
26th, we're doing the workshop. So we're gonna be out here, and that's technically it's called a day out of time. In the Mayan calendar, July 25th is the day out of time. So it truly is the darkest day of this calendar year. Day out of time.
Inshallah, you know, I'm out here, so I'm definitely gonna pull up and support. You know, if I can come through, you know, I'm definitely gonna be there, inshallah, for sure.
And I've been tagged as being the host. So yeah, I will be hosting the event. I'll be driving the Nebuchadnezzar. I'm tanking Dozer that day. You know, I'm there to assist. I'm there to assist two legends. Brother AA Rashid is a cultural icon. If anybody,
shout out to AA.
I'm gonna just go ahead and fly out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're supposed to be coming down here for the documentary. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to be coming out here.
Yeah. Maybe Red and Blue might be able to slide up from that documentary.
Oh, you already listen. Look, y'all ain't even got to say that, Ak. You already know, y'all. I was gonna talk to y'all about that off the air. You know, listen. You already know y'all in it. You already know. That goes without saying. You already know.
Yes, family. The link can be found on the Eventbrite Dark Matter Timing, but you could also get it directly through my IG link. The link is in the bio for my Instagram. Okay.
Look, the link is right here now. We shortened it right there to DMT-TMD.Eventbrite to make it easier for you. DMT-TMD, right? That's for the family. Please come to Atlanta. I don't know if anybody has been to Atlanta lately, but there's an energy out there that y'all all should feel. You should be able to feel that because you might live in El Segundo and you might only be on the internet. You might follow the wrong people on Instagram and Twitter, and you thinking that the world is not lit right now. And if you come to Atlanta, you'll really realize that everything that you've been told is a lie. That melanin people are living a very good life. Some of them as ignorant as they want to be, and others not so ignorant. You know what I'm saying? Lamborghini must have a plant in Atlanta because they're everywhere, from the cars to the trucks. So there's an economy, there's a flow, there's a currency, there's a current flowing through Atlanta, which is a narco state, amongst a lot of other things, you know, heavy underworld energy. But let's talk about the overworld because it's heavy in African spirituality, it's very heavy in Moorish energy, it's super heavy in what they call RBG energy. It is a melting pot. It's almost like a beautiful chat room. Be there, y'all. Tap in.
So,
Right.
you know, yeah, that's available. The Dark Matter Timing on the 25th and the 26th. Like I said, the 26th, we're going to have workshops as well. There's going to be special guest performances, pop-up shops. It's going to be popping the weekend of the 25th. So if you can't make it to Atlanta, you can also live stream. All right. So we're going to have the webinar aspect of it popping as well. Make sure that you get your tickets on Eventbrite.
Yes. And I just got to plug one more event before we get out of here. On that Thursday, and this is online only, that Thursday, we're going to be doing an event. I'm going to be doing my KTL University Third Eye Thursday online classes. This one is going to be entitled Conscious Industry 2020. All right, Conscious Industry 2020. This is going to be mostly dealing with economics, right? These are especially for my stream chasers. This is going to be dealing with economics. This is going to be dealing with the bag. This is going to be dealing with the PPP loans. This is going to be dealing with all of that. I'm going to be showing you brothers who purchase that are out here purchasing gold by the pounds. We're going to be talking about Industry 4.0. We're going to be talking about new ways to tap into the income streams, new income streams that are out there. I mean, a ton of things. It's a 3-hour lecture. Please tap in so you could be upgraded. If anybody saw a Conscious Industry that I did it in 2017 or 16, everything that I spoke of is online and lit right now. Everything that was prophesized from the Bitcoin to the cryptocurrency to a whole bunch of things, it's at play right now. So we're going to be giving you information that's going to be relevant for the next 3 to 4 years. Please be there. That link, let me give you that link in the chat as well. That link is also on Eventbrite. That's not live. That's only online. And yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it a habit too to do what I can to promote to our audience and our people everything you guys are doing. So I'm definitely gonna send that out. You know what I mean? That's very vital. That type of content right there, putting people onto that because it gives us a way to navigate without turning into the Nick Cannons and the stuff like that. You see, when people know how to get it off the muscle and get it on their own. You know.
This thing is so democratized. It's so decentralized. Technology is so democratized. They have removed the only middleman is the app, right?
Mm.
And sometimes you could get around that if you were to create your own app and have your own servers. It is so democratized. There's movie cameras that are $1,000 right now. You could shoot your own short film. You could animate your own animation. You could go on Unreal Engine and make your own video game. You can make your own phone app. There's everything is in our hands. The only thing that we seem to not have is time.
That's facts. That's facts. And that's one of the things we're doing. We're actually developing a Murakush streaming app that in the documentary that we're doing is going to kick that off so that, you know, because we got so much research and information, we're just going to turn this all into documentary content, which people could just stream, you know, and access it. Inshallah. So definitely, man, you're 100% all right with that, brother.
The brother said, call it what you want, but the South is running the industry. That's when keeping it real goes wrong, because that is not the industry that I'm speaking of. I'm going to touch on the music industry, and I'm going to highlight how God Hop is on the come up, how Griselda had to utilize A.A. Rashid's genius to basically to make them, because dude is seen as an art icon, right? He's an art icon, West Side Gun. You know, that's part of the conscious industry, because art is what we, art is life. That's what we are. We are artists and scientists. I'm not just speaking about the people are so narrow-minded. I'm speaking about the health and wellness industry. I'm speaking about the CMOS industry. I'm speaking about the Reiki industry. I'm speaking about the quote-unquote online schooling industry, the homeschooling industry. I'm speaking about brothers who have conscious sneaker brands, athleisure lines. I'm speaking about the brother 19 Keys, who's selling headbands for, you know, these are designer headbands. He has headbands that protect you from ELF. What I'm
Brown.
speaking of is Idris Sandu, crowns. I'm sorry, these are not headbands, these are crowns. I'm speaking about Idris Sandu, brother, introducing you know, smart stores to Crenshaw Boulevard. Conscious industry, ownership, not ownership or slave ship. There's no middle ground. Nick Cannon is showing you that either you own your masters or you're owned by a master. So we gotta have these conversations. And the brother has a book called From What? Slaves to Kings. There's not one way of getting out of this thing. So we have to throw everything at the board right now and see what sticks. But with that being said, I don't want to keep the family long. Love and light to everybody. Thank you, all of the family that's in the building tonight. We will see you tomorrow for Third Eye Thursdays, and then Melanin Mondays, Tough Talk Tuesdays. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell and all of that hotness, and make sure you comment and talk to us. You know, talk black to us, talk Moorish to us, talk Blake to us. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, talk black to me.
Talk black to me. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean? Don't talk rainbow to me.
Yeah, talk black to me.
Yeah.
They out here, you know, they out here talking Skittles to us. Don't do that.
Indeed. So peace, salam, peace, love, and light, man. It's always a pleasure. We going let's make sure we stay tapped in and check it with each other.
Yes.
And let's do some stuff together, man. The time is now, brother. So I appreciate the invite, man. Y'all, it's always a pleasure. It's always an honor. And you know, I wish nothing but the best and pray for you and the family. All right.
Islam.
Yes,
Islam. No doubt.
Yeah, honors, brothers, honors. Y'all already know what it is. I'm gonna try to get down there next week, and man, we gotta stay in contact and do what we do.
Indeed, brother. Please, let's make that happen.
No doubt, no doubt. With that, I'm gonna say peace and salute.
You already. Somebody say you got a rainbow shirt. Yeah, but it's legal. I'm talking about the LBGT is an upside down rainbow. You don't know that? Okay. Love and light. Peace.